Bzzz, air dryer!
Differently interesting extra time communion for minicab drivers.
Take the money and sit back down again.
Breastfeeding mums.
Oh, you've not been giving it its breakfast again, have you?
And people disturbed by urban foxes engaged in the act of lovemaking behind their bins.
Anybody there?
The two Mikes. Overworked, overweight, overpaid, overnight. On Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
Yeah, look into the light.
Which light?
Look at any light you like.
No nose, half a face, no hands, toes breaking off. It's a thing of nightmares.
But he's written
He's
an
like a
incredible
zombie.
book. This is Talk Sport. I'm Mike Graham. I'm delighted to say that it's time to say a very good morning indeed to a very self-satisfied looking Mr. Mike Parry, holding what can only be described as a very odd-looking man bag. What on earth is that?
Now, what do you think's in here?
Well, I've no idea what's in there.
Well, do you notice any headphones?
Is it leather?
It is leather.
Why have you got a leather pouch?
Because it contains my new headphones.
Oh, you finally bought some new headphones?
Woohoo,
Oh, well done. How much did you spend on those then?
£187.
£187?
Yes. Isn't that good?
Well, they don't look like they're worth £187.
Well, nothing looks like it's worth anything to you because you're
Let's have a look at the bag.
You're just incapable of working out value on anything.
I'm not sure it is leather.
Of course it's
I
leather.
think it's leatherette.
It's not, and it's got the name of the of the make.
Yeah.
What is it?
Poundland.
No, you idiot. What does it say?
It says, let's look at Sennheiser.
Sennheiser?
Yeah.
Look, it says on the top there, Sennheiser.
Sennheiser.
See? These are the finest in the world. I'm going to now clamp them over my ears to get
This is definitely not leather.
Well, hang on.
This is definitely not a leather bag.
Right, here. This is the first time I've used them, right?
Do they work?
Oh, wonderful. Oh, I can hear everything.
Did you give them a go before you sent them, before you purchased them?
Yeah. Can I have my bag back, please?
No, I'm going to take a picture of it and send it out. Don't take it yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take a picture of it.
Well, why don't I hold it while you're taking a picture of it?
Because I won't be able to see the Sennheiser.
No. People like to see a picture of my face on a regular evening basis.
I sent a picture of your face out the other night. It was
my
a disaster.
face looks different every day.
Absolutely
depending
disaster.
on my mood. Yeah.
It's just there's not enough room on my phone to take a picture of such a useless event.
What?
It's not letting me take the picture.
Why is that? Sorry.
Well, I've got too much information on my device.
So your phone's broken down?
No, it's not broken down.
So you got a crappy old phone and you're accusing me of having cheap headphones?
It's the last picture. I'm just going to have to remove some of the other pictures. If I get rid of all that rubbish I've got of you on here,
I'll tell you, there's one class of people in this world who wear headphones quite a lot because they like to big themselves up, and that's cyclists, okay? Now, I'm getting more and more fed up with cyclists.
Footballers like to wear them as well, don't they? Those big headphones. Instead of wearing like a little pair of earphones that go in your ears, they like to wear these big headphones.
Yeah, but they're Dr. Dre things, aren't they, or whatever they're called, or
Beats.
Boombox, is it?
Beats.
Beatbox or something?
Beatbox.
Isn't it?
No, boombox was the things they used to carry around.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
On his shoulder.
No, that wasn't a boombox. That was called what was that called?
A boombox.
No, it wasn't a boombox.
Yes, it was a boombox.
No, it wasn't. No, they used to carry them around in South London. What were they called?
In South London?
Yeah, South London.
It wasn't just South London.
Yeah.
They used to carry around in New York as well.
Well, they did certainly there. No, what I was going to... well, the reason footballers wear them is because they can then claim they didn't hear,
exactly.
Inquiring journalists asking why you...
difficult questions.
Why you conceded 3 goals by standing on the wrong side of the defender every time and all that kind of stuff,
Exactly.
No, what I was going to say is these cyclists... Now, cyclists are getting on my wick, right, to say the least, because... Like you, I've observed now that there are crossings now which have little pictures of bikes on them.
Do you know, I got a picture sent to me on Twitter today from one of our followers in Munich.
Yes.
He said that we've got loads and loads of these traffic lights for cyclists in Munich.
And the Munchen.
And I thought to myself, well, yeah, but maybe they actually, do the right thing and stop when it turns red, which they don't do in this country.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought you were going to say your German friend came back and then said, no, it's exactly the same there. But what I was going to say is, the 2 signs I saw tonight, one said... Narrow lanes do not overtake cyclists.
Yes,
right.
There's a lot of that around here at the moment.
Yeah, narrow lanes do not overtake cyclists. Big yellow notice, and so prominent that you think it's somehow been inveigled into the law of the land or something like that. You know, and the other one was a radio advert as I'm driving in, paid for by the Mayor of London, Transport for London.
Yeah, who got big up from David Cameron, by the way, at his speech earlier on yesterday.
Yeah, and which said it's a warning to motorists, beware of cyclists. Beware of cyclists.
It's true.
A few seconds later, and this is a main artery road coming in through South London,
You're still coming in the same way, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm still coming in the same way.
Why don't you just come in a different way?
I come in the way that I believe
way.
it is more efficient.
People get sick to death of you moaning and groaning.
No, there is no other way.
Yeah,
there is no other way. There isn't.
I could come up with about 4 different ways you
Well, you can stick your 4 other ways up your jacksy, pal, because I do it the way I want to do it, okay?
Porky sat-nav.
Right, now what I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
Seconds after hearing this advert about, motorists, beware of cyclists, show compassion and all this, show awareness... I nearly took a bloke out in Brixton.
Well, weren't you paying attention?
I was paying attention, but he came across a dual carriageway central reservation right in front of my car without any lights on.
Oh,
they don't have any lights on their bikes, these cyclists.
Some of them don't.
And I tell you what,
some of them do, though. Some of them do.
I tell you what, and this is an absolutely honest human reaction. Yeah. I couldn't give a fig whether I'd hit him, knocked him off his bike, ruined his life because of his incompetent and outrageous behaviour. Hang on.
No, this comes as no surprise.
But I would have been extremely annoyed, irritated, fed up and baiting and baying for revenge if he had damaged my car in disabling himself.
And were you still moving at this point, or were you stopped at a light?
No, I was still moving. Of course I was moving, yeah. Okay. And this guy...
Did you bellow something rude at him?
I didn't have time. By the time I got the window down, he disappeared with a, fleet of the wind and all that kind of stuff, you know. But what I'm saying is, these guys are dangerous. They're a danger to themselves, but more than that, they're a danger to the general public. Just imagine if I'd have hit him on his bike and then he'd left the saddle of his bike and come through my windscreen or something like that.
Well, I mean, not only would he have been injured, that you would have been delayed getting in and all sorts of
Of course I would. He would have...
They do. I mean, there are an awful lot of bikes that take terrible risks which they shouldn't take. There's no question about that.
Now, as for the idea that you mustn't overtake cyclists, right, that means you've got to keep pace with the slowest vehicle on the road.
Well, to be honest, I have great difficulty now getting above 20 miles an hour anywhere in London.
Doesn't matter. When they say don't overtake cyclists...
Cyclists are actually going faster than I am.
Don't overtake cyclists means you've got to keep pace with the slow. Now, this is another insidious sort of communist plot to
communist plot?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
Well,
honestly.
who think's behind it then?
Don't you
Boris
think
Johnson?
that most? Don't you think?
Communist, is he?
Well, he's a very strange person. The trouble with him is he is a renegade politician who wants to do things just to shake up the government because he wants to be head of it. You see what I mean?
Right.
So he doesn't care whether they're communist plots or fascist plots or anything else. As far as he's concerned, it's a plot.
Yes.
And it's against the authority. But what I'm saying is,
what are you saying?
What I'm saying is this: if you insist that society only moves at the pace of the lowest possible
but that's
common...
my argument is that bikes are actually going faster than cars now.
But they're not.
They are.
Lowest possible common denominator, then you slow society down to a point where it becomes uncompetitive, right?
Yeah.
That's why for the last 50 years...
Just come in a different way.
That's... never mind cyclist, I'm going to tell you now about education. For the last 50 years, all these do-gooder educationists have been saying, we mustn't have competition in schools. Get rid of the 11+. Get rid of the secondary modern streaming. Let's introduce comprehensives.
Yeah, but that's not true, though.
Get rid of great schools like the King's School Chester that Porky Parry went to because it's elitism, which is not true. No, no.
Well, what are you talking about, then?
We fought back. What I'm saying is this. They would like us all to move at the pace of the lowest common denominator, i.e...
When you say they, who do you mean?
I'm talking about these wacko educationists, you know.
So you've got it in for all sorts of conspiracy theories.
Hang on. They are inspired by Lenin Marxism. They admit that, right? And what I'm saying is...
Lenin Marxism?
Yeah, the whole idea is to reduce this country to the educational level of the thickest possible kid in school, OK? Nobody's allowed to do better.
Idea.
Nobody's allowed to do better than the thickest kid in the class, OK? Yeah. That's the whole idea. Lowest common denominator. What happens then? We then become susceptible to being consumed and insumed by other countries. Yeah. And that is why, for instance, you will find that places like, communist ideals like Havana, which is in Cuba, like Cuba, fail. That's where their economies fail. Because if you run any economy on the basis that nobody goes faster than the lowest common denominator...
Well, you go faster in Cuba than you can in London.
Your economy will completely implode. Right. And that's the whole idea. I mean, you can't see the link academically and intellectually between what I've been saying, between cyclists and the economy of the country.
As usual, you're talking absolute cobblers.
No. You slow a country down in its ability to move around
Now,
you
calm
are
down for a
slowing
minute.
down its economy,
Calm down.
and you are working at the lowest common denominator.
Calm down. I just want to read you this. I've got the first tweet in of the night from Zongu, who is very kindly.
Nice name.
He's very kindly awarded me a medal.
Oh, yeah? What for?
And he says, in light of Mr. Parry's motor-mouth drivel, which you endure each night, my pleasure is to award you this medal.
Oh, yeah?
And the medal, as you can see here, says this. It says, awarded to Mike Graham for his remarkable forbearance in tolerating, with exceptional tolerance, the inane rambling of Mr. Michael Parry.
Yeah. What's his name
That's
again?
what I feel like.
What's his name?
Zongu.
Well, if I was Zongu, with a name like that, pal, I wouldn't send
You said it was a nice name a minute ago.
I wouldn't send any messages to anybody, particularly of that nature, where, of course, you expose yourself as being on the side of the lowest common denominator. You don't sound like a lowest common denominator to me, Zongi, but...
Zongu.
Sorry, Zangu.
Zongu.
Oh, sorry, Zongu,
Yeah.
but clearly you are of that ilk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark the Taxi says, I gave the plank Parry a different route a few weeks ago.
Yes.
I live near Parry too, so I know how quickly he can do it. So why don't you just take a different route?
Listen, the route I take, mate, is scientifically worked out to be the quickest route. Except for the fact that when you dig up roads and turn one half of a road over to a cycle superhighway, which is used for 2 hours out of the 24-hour cycle that our days exist in, it is an absolute scandal. You know who's coming in, by the way,
Coming in where?
as mayoral candidate to replace Boris? Zach Goldsmith.
Zach Goldsmith, yeah.
And guess what? Guess what? I forgot to tell you this, actually. 2 weeks ago, I was ambling through a town in Surrey.
Ambling?
Yeah, when a local MP literally leapt out of a shop window, grabbed me, dragged me into a pub, and invited me to talk to Zach Goldsmith, who was holding his first election rally.
What was he doing it in Surrey for?
Because well, actually, although it was in Surrey, it's in the borough of Greater London, this particular town I was in. Right. And he's looking for votes to become London Mayor.
So what did you say to him?
I just said, hello, how you doing? And he said, and I thought, I'm shaking the hand now of a man who's literally a billionaire, because his father was a billionaire, Jimmy Goldsmith.
He must have been greasing all the way around him then.
Hello,
Mr. Goldsmith. Hello, my name's Mike Parry.
Yeah,
I own a lot of properties, you know, and I drive a Mercedes worth $23,000. Are you impressed, Mr. Goldsmith? And look at my lovely shoes.
You don't...
And I spent £75 on my hair.
You don't talk to people on your equal social standing with that sort of drivel,
really?
Okay?
Yeah, well, I'm amazed. Anyway, look at the time, look into the light, because it's way too late. You've been ranting and raving. I've hardly said a word since the show started. He's Mike Porky Parry. As usual, he's worked up about some ridiculous conspiracy. I'm Mike Graham. This is TalkSport.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Porky Vision coming up later on today. And then, of course, tomorrow, it's the Porky quiz on the Saint. But not any saint. Just
when
the
Saint...
No, not that Saint.
Comes marching...
Not that Saint.
Oh,
no, the Roger Moore Saint.
Yeah,
not the other Saint. Ian Ogilvy, was it? We're not allowed to ask any questions about Ian Ogilvy as the
Ian
Saint.
Ogilvy was in the second series of the Saint, and Val Kilmer was in the full-length feature
and
movie.
You don't want any questions included on that either?
No, because it was a flop.
No, OK. Now, how about this for a couple of tweets kicking the show off? Mad Max says this. Sennheiser are notorious for making poor quality earphones, very poor sound quality, £187. They definitely saw Porky coming.
Oh, and don't be ridiculous. These are quality.
Try Bose, Bang & Olufsen or Beats. Plankhead.
No. I went to the best place and...
you found a headphone shop then?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Did you get the bag for free? The faux leather bag?
I don't know what faux leather is.
Don't you?
I mean...
That's what that's made of.
God, it smells beautiful.
It does not
beautiful
smell...
leather.
Do you know what they do?
Fantastic.
Do you know what they do with people like you?
What?
Right? They spray it with a sort of leathery type smell. So that you go, oh, yeah, it smells like leather.
Yeah.
But it's not leather. Because inside, if you look carefully, it's not suede, is it?
Do you know what it reminded me of? When I got them, I thought that looks like one leg of lederhosen.
Well, like Jurgen Klopp.
Doesn't it? You see what I mean? Yeah, Jurgen Klopp and his lederhosen.
Well, it's a very short leg.
Yeah.
Now, here's one from Chris.
Well, no, but lederhosen are shorts.
Yeah, they are, but they'd be very short if you wore those.
No, well,
those
you
are
know
more
what
like
I
the
mean.
kind of lederhosen you'd wear down Old Compton Street, to be honest. Now, here's one from Chris.
That's a bit harsh. I mean, come on, have a care.
New headphones at last. Well done, Mr. Parry.
Thank you.
David says the new Sennheiser headphones have not made Mike Parry any more lucid or less randomly incorrect.
I think they have.
Boss of Sennheiser resigns.
No, I feel in very good shape. Listen, we should be talking about what's going on at FIFA. Because whatever's going on at FIFA is not good.
FIFA?
Well, it's not good, is it?
Well, first of all, the news is released that Sepp Blatter's been suspended, right?
Yes.
Then Sepp Blatter obviously gets his lawyers on the case and says, hang on a second, I haven't been suspended. So now there's this convoluted story which apparently suggests that the Ethics Committee would like to suspend Sepp Blatter.
If he'll agree to it.
However, they can't find him, and they can't tell him, because he's now claiming that nobody's told him anything.
Well,
and it's notoriously difficult to find, is Sepp Blatter,
Yeah,
isn't
of course it is. And that's,
obviously.
Well, I mean, I've always had this theory for years and years. The reason why FIFA is based in Switzerland is because Switzerland has designed its laws to protect people in dodgy situations because they
Although that's been changing over the years, hasn't it?
Well, it's been changing a bit in recent years, but FIFA's been around a long time. And the point is, if you have to construct a situation where you protect banking interests and the secrecy of people who bank with Swiss banks, then you can include other organisations within that web of protection.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what's been falling apart, because now a lot of the Swiss banks, and I know this only because of people that I know who used to work for Swiss banks, that basically Swiss banks have all pulled out of America because they thought if they're operating in America, the American rules changed and said if you're operating in America, we're going to come to Switzerland and find out not only who your clients are, but how much money they've got and what they do with it.
That's absolutely right, So I was thinking that way. But, I mean, you're absolutely right about the confusion. One paper that will drop on the doormats of our millions of listeners tomorrow morning. FIFA down 4, Blatter and Platini facing 90-day bans. But then it says the two most powerful figures in world football were on the brink of losing their thrones last night. So it's a very unclear situation.
It is a very unclear situation.
Unclear.
We'll be talking to Brian Sciaretta about it a little bit later on. We'll find out what the latest reaction is from New York. Yes.
That's a great name, isn't it?
It is.
From New York.
It's a sort of Italian-sounding name.
Well, Sciaretta rhymes with Beretta.
It does.
And Beretta, of course.
Beretta's a kind of handgun.
It's a handgun, isn't it?
It was also
favoured by James Bond.
No, didn't he have a PPK?
Yeah, but he had a Beretta in the first two novels.
I'm not
in
sure
Dr.
about
No.
that.
Yes, he did.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I was certain.
Well, I'm not sure about that. But what I can tell you is that Beretta was also, was he not a TV detective?
No, not
sure?
Beretta. No. His name was
I think it was
Bergerac.
Yeah, no, there was Bergerac, but he
yeah.
wasn't American. There was an American one, I'm pretty sure, called Beretta.
Was he the guy with a craggy face?
Yeah, craggy face, quite short.
Quite short.
Looks a bit like Columbo, but a bit more
and
kind
was
of...
always eating tuna fish sandwiches.
Yes, I think he was.
Yes.
I think he was called Beretta.
You could be on the number there.
Now, a couple of tweets for you as well, coming in on the cycling front.
Yeah.
Here's one from Paul, who says, I never thought I would agree with Porky, but as an HGV driver, he is completely right.
Thank you.
Here's one from, Headshot the Trucker, who says, Mike Parry, you, sir, are a legend. Spot on about cyclists. You were saying what truck drivers have been saying for years. By the way, if Boris gets his way, he will ban trucks out of London.
Yeah,
we only go in there because we have to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you cannot deliver, any commodity like £15,000 worth of sandwiches to a sandwich shop that's going to sell most of them in a window between 11:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. If you can't get those sandwiches at that sandwich shop will close down. So you will have ghost towns.
They did this in New York, though, where they said that certain trucks in certain parts of Midtown would only be allowed, say, between the hours of, I think it was 5 in the morning and 7 in the morning.
That's right.
And then 11 at night and midnight or something like that.
Yes.
And that worked okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. How about this from Dan in Gloucester, who says this, Mike and Mike, this is the first time show in almost a month I've been able to tune in to since an altercation with a cyclist. Right. I was under the impression motor vehicles should leave adequate space to overtake cyclists and so kept my distance behind this individual until safe to overtake when said individual pulled in at the side of the road. Yeah. I therefore continued on my way. However, when I got to the next junction and waited at the lights, my car door was wrenched open by this individual who then accused me of road rage and sitting behind him to intimidate him. He decided to hammer his point home quite literally with my face playing the part of the nail head. I thought you would appreciate being kept up to date on how us clamped motorists are the blight of the highways.
Yeah, no, thank you very much indeed for that information. Isn't it amazing that so far all I've had is a tidal wave of support for my views that cyclists are unfairly given protection on the roads. And by the way, these cyclists, just to remind everybody, they do not pay tax. They are not regulated. Yeah. They do not have to take a driving test.
They have no insurance.
They have no insurance. A bike is a lethal weapon, and yet there's no regulation about how you ride it. Anybody can get on one. Imagine saying to anybody, get into a car and drive it, you know? And that's exactly what happens on a bike. Yeah. It's an absolute scandal, and the proportion of money spent, raised by the taxpayer on providing facilities for cyclists for 2 hours a day out of the 24-hour cycle is an utter scandal.
It's all part of the Olympic legacy, of course.
Well, I don't think it is. You know what I think it is? It's the current political vogue. And when the current political vogue changes in about 3 years' time and everybody agrees, hang on, it's absolute madness to have cyclists and cars on the same roads. I'm afraid we've got to get rid of bikes. Then Boris's successor will spend another 10 billion quid tearing up all the cycle superhighways and returning them to roads.
Well, interestingly enough,
That's what they do all the time.
This whole Volkswagen emissions scandal, which has apparently led some climate maniacs to suggest that 50,000 people a year are dying because of all the terrible diesel emissions coming out of these
you see them
cars.
dropping dead like flies, don't you, in central London?
You would think that cycling in central London would be equivalent to signing your own death warrant.
Well, exactly.
I mean, why would you want to breathe in all this stuff?
Well, it's selective injurious information syndrome, that is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought there was a name for it.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure what it was.
It is, definitely.
Kenny says Beretta also had a parrot. Do you remember that?
Brett had a parrot, back in his apartment?
Yeah, I believe so. Well, I don't think he kept it in his car.
No, he didn't keep it in his car, no. Maybe. I don't remember him too well. I kind of half remember the name.
And Trevor says, £180 headphones, Porky, man of the people, what a plank.
No, listen.
See, people are obsessed with how much money you spend on some of the things that you buy. And by the amounts of money that you spend and the extravagance with which you show, clearly you're not a man, you cannot be a man of the people.
Can I just say that my prime concern is my ability to communicate in the fullest possible way with the millions of people who tune in to listen to Talk Sport. They are my family, right?
What? Well, because you haven't got one.
They are my...
That's because you haven't got one.
They are my raison d'etre, okay?
Really?
What
does that mean?
They are my soul, my life, my being, okay? As far as I'm concerned...
You've been drinking today.
No, I haven't. They are my meat and drink. They are
meat
the body,
and boiled vegetables.
They are the body and the soul of my existence.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think nothing of spending £180 on a pair of headphones in which to communicate with my family, as I will call them from now on, my family. God. And if you think about it, Mr. Graham, it is only twice the price of what you pay for a bottle of champagne.
That's not true.
So you can take your
mocking
principles, put them in your pipe and smoke them.
I never paid £90 for a bottle of champagne.
Stick it up your jumper.
Thank you very much indeed. As ever, Parry is desperate for popularity, desperate for appreciation. So if you'd like to join part of Porky's rather dysfunctional family, by all means tweet us at the Two Mics, and we'll send you down to the nearest place for mental rehabilitation. This is Talk Sport.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you. It's late September and I really should be back at school. I know I keep you amused, but I feel I'm being used.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, of course. There's some massive internationals coming up. Don't worry about the England ones, of course, because you'll be hearing all about those right here on Talk Sport. But England already qualified.
Yeah, but they're not massive.
Well, no, they're not. I'm saying
they're
don't worry.
rubbers.
I said don't worry about those because those are not important.
Yeah, but you see,
even though we will be telling you all about them on Talk Sport because that's what we do.
But what a contradictory statement!
Why
you just
is it
made.
Contradictory?
Because you're going about massive internationals.
Yeah, well, you're not listening
and then
to me.
you say,
all right. I'll tell you what. Calm down for a second.
Yeah.
I'll repeat exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I said there's some massive international games coming up.
That's right.
Don't worry about England. Right?
Yeah.
Because England doesn't matter.
Can I just say something?
So the two things are completely separate.
Can I just make an observation?
Yeah,
please?
go on then.
95% of our audience of millions are English. And as the English games don't matter,
do you know that?
I want you to tell me how massive the international calendar is.
Well, because Scotland are taking on Poland. Are you British or not?
I'm British.
Do you support Scotland in the Euros?
Of course.
Do you support Wales in the Euros?
Of course.
Do you support Northern Ireland in the Euros?
Of course.
Well, then they're massive games, are they not?
They are massive games for the citizens of those countries.
And for us too.
I am an interested onlooker.
And for us too. You're an interested onlooker. Well, as far as I'm concerned, then you can keep quiet during this conversation I'm going to have with Mark Donaldson. Because you've obviously got nothing important to say. Mark, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
How are you both?
Morning, Mark. Very well indeed, thank you. Sorry about the oaf on the left here. You know, building up a story which he then completely knocked down. But, that's in his nature.
Yeah, I think your new headphones aren't working very well. I think that's the problem you've got. You spent 187 quid and you've been done.
Just get on with it.
But at least you've got a nice fake leather pouch to go along with them. Mr. Donaldson, big game for Scotland tonight. I'm saying they have to win it. Mathematically, they could get away with a draw, right?
Yeah, but we've got to rely on help and rely on others as well. The Republic of Ireland have got to lose to Germany, and then they've got to go to Poland. It's a weird type of group because Germany have guaranteed themselves at least a playoff. Germany are going to get through. They're going to probably top the group. It's one of the top two spots. Poland and Ireland can still win the group, but they could also still finish fourth. So we need help. And I'm kind of with you as well. If we are trying to approach a game and it's a kind of, well, we could do with winning this, but a point's not the end of the world, what happens if Ireland beat Germany? We're screwed. So it's difficult because Strachan plays a 4-2-3-1 formation, the way he always plays internationally. How big a gamble would it be, therefore, if he decided to go with Lee Griffiths or Jordan Rhodes, but probably Griffiths, along with Stephen Fletcher in a 4-4-2? If it's a game we need to score goals in, because they've got Lewandowski, so they will score. I've done his last 3 games, and he's scored loads of goals. They will score, which means we need 2 to win. Can we get 2 with 1 up front and a cagey kind of 4-2-3-1? Not sure.
And there's a certain Mr. Lewandowski who might have something to say about that as well, right?
He's on fire. He's on fire. Now, the goals that he's been scoring of late have come from support from better players. He plays for better players at Bayern Munich than he does at Poland. However, there was an interesting little build-up to this one. If you remember back when Scotland drew 2-2 with Poland, Mr. Lewandowski was on the end of some rather rough treatment from Gordon Greer. Now, in the build-up to this game, Scotland was saying, well, they've been accused of being dirty, and they're going to try and mark him out the game by fair means or foul. But they've said they'll be fair. They'll be a normal player in opposition. I don't advocate trying to hurt the opposition. You've got to try and beat them fair and square. So it's a bit of a kind of skullduggery methods. But if it meant, and I wish no harm to Lewandowski, but if it meant a similar type of,
you can't get away with it just by putting in that sort of proviso.
How not?
You know, just as long as you say, I wish him no harm, but wouldn't it be awful if this happened?
Yeah, put it this way. If we can get away with not marking him out of the game, but making sure he doesn't play 90 minutes to the extent that he's not hurt enough that he's still available for selection for Bayern's next game. Can I get away with that?
I think that's fine, yeah.
Listen, Mark, my information from the Scottish camp, you know, I keep in touch with these people.
Who's been on the phone to you?
Excuse me?
Who's been on the phone to you?
I don't reveal my sources live on air. Is that Gordon Strachan has said the way they're going to stop Lewandowski is to... Lewandowski. Is that they're going to use what they call pack defending to try and nullify his threat. His threat, of course, being exemplified by 12 goals in his last 4 games for his club. Now, the point is, I've seen this happen before as an observer of football for a very long time. If you put more than one man on one opposition forward, you are opening up areas of your defence to what the Germans might call, although he's Polish, obviously, the blitz. Well, he plays in Germany. He plays in Germany.
Nice recovery.
To what's called the blitzkrieg attack. So, do you see my point? That if you spend too much time and too many players concentrating on Lewandowski, you might, in fact, be hanging yourself by your own petard.
That's why everybody's doing so well against Barcelona at the moment, because they're not having to spend time marking Lionel Messi.
This is absolutely right. So, what do you think about that, Mark?
To be fair, I think you're actually speaking a bit of sense there with regards to there's no point in putting 2 on him because he moves. For me, people talk about Lewandowski and his goals of late. I love Lewandowski's movement. Never stands still. He's always looking to get into space. So what do? If you've got a man-to-man marker on Lewandowski, you're going to have someone going so deep, they're just going to get in the way. So I think you've just got to hope that your centre-back, whoever it is that's picking him up at the time, has either the game of his life or, and this is the key thing that I mentioned earlier as well, Mike, you've got to stop the supply at source.
Yes.
Because he is not playing with the quality of players that he plays at Bayern Munich. And you look at some of the goals. I did the game against Dortmund at the weekend. They were route one, big punt up the park, and he ended up scoring as a result of that, and it was awful defending. Scotland are going to have to defend really well, but they're going to have to prevent the ball from getting to Lewandowski as often as it has been.
Indeed.
Now, it could be...
He's going to have 3 or 4 chances, Mike, guaranteed, regardless.
Yes.
Let's not make it 7 or 8 chances.
I totally
agree
with you.
If Scotland can manage to pull this off, it'll be quite a recovery, because they were in a good position until a couple of games ago when they just lost, didn't they, whatever momentum they had. Republic of Ireland, I suppose, will either go instead of Scotland or perhaps both of them will miss out. Northern Ireland have got a pretty good chance, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. I'm just thinking back to when Mr. Parry and Mr. Brazil were up in Glasgow, and we had that weekend staying on George Square, and we came pretty close, Scotland, to doing it. That was against Italy, and we needed a win.
Pulky doesn't remember meeting you there,
Of course I do, you fool. Please stop denigrating my character in the company of professionals like Mark, yes?
Mr. Parry's got far more chance of remembering being there than Mr. Brazil.
Oh, that's a bit harsh. Al doesn't get into that sort of state.
That's the trip when he sang The Flower of Scotland.
Yeah, well, he's very passionate about his country, you know, when he gets in the mood, so to speak.
He's passionate.
Yeah.
We had a taxi booked for 2 o'clock. It was a 5 o'clock kickoff. At 3 o'clock, he was still having lunch with Rod Stewart.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, you know, it's difficult to tear yourself away. I think he illustrated his loyalty to his team when being asked to read out the Scottish team, he started singing Flower of Scotland.
he did, and he kept complaining that we've got no strikers. How are we going to win with no strikers?
Yeah,
they scored within 2 minutes, and
yeah.
And so you know what it means to Scotland, and we've got an okay chance of getting through. But you know what our luck is like. We'll finish third, and we'll get the Dutch in the playoffs or something like that.
Well, you might do all right against the Dutch the way they're playing. To be honest, I mean, you might want to get the Dutch. And what about? I mean, obviously Wales isn't tonight, but I mean, you'd expect them to get more than 1 point that they require, and for Wales to be there and to be so high up in the top 10 of FIFA rankings is remarkable, isn't it?
I think it's great. I really hope that Scotland aren't the only home nation not to be in France next year. I mean, can you imagine how much of a carnival it would be if Scotland, England, Northern Ireland and Wales are all there as well? Northern Ireland's a great story. I think Michael O'Neill's done a phenomenal job there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we can argue we're in a tough group. You can only beat what's in front of you, and it's not their fault that Greece haven't been performing like they were 12 years ago or 11 years ago when they won the Euros. Wales is an unbelievable story as well. It's all right having a world-class player. That doesn't guarantee that you're going to be playing at a national championship or an international championship. Ask Iceland.
No, it's
when they had
true.
Eidur Gudjohnsen. Ask Wales when they had Ian Rush.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean
or
you're
Ryan
going to get
Giggs.
there. So, exactly. So
absolutely.
Can you imagine Gareth Bale when he was coming through the ranks at Southampton and Spurs, thinking to himself, I've got a chance here, a right good chance of making a name for myself in club football. Ultimately, I'm not sure I'm ever going to play for my country at a national championship. And you can see what it means to them as well.
Yeah.
I just hope Scotland aren't the only country that, the home nation country that don't get through.
No, exactly right.
Absolutely right.
Mark, thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you very much indeed, Mark.
We shall wish you well. Even
yes.
what would you describe yourself as, the onlooker to these games?
No.
Interested onlooker?
A very interested observer of the international football scene.
That's very
okay?
kind of you,
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about who you're going to support in the Rugby World Cup as well coming up in a little while.
Well, I might not support anybody. England have gone out. Why would I change my allegiances?
Because you're from Britain.
I'm not a fair.
You're from Britain, are you not?
I'm not a fair weather fan, you know.
You've admitted that you're from Britain.
Well, yes, of course I'm from Britain.
So why wouldn't you support any other British teams in the Rugby World Cup?
Well, because my loyalties lie with England, of course, because I'm English. I'm Anglo-Saxon English.
Idiot. This is Talk Sport.
Friday was Army. Go on, YouTube.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It's the Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on.
Yes.
By the way, I said the Porky Vision. It sounds like some kind of immaculate thing going on.
It is, yeah.
It's actually the best TV review around, so you must listen to that a little bit later on. I might ask you for a little flavour of it before we get to it, just in case people want to know what you're going to be talking about. But a couple of tweets have come in along the lines of you saying that everybody out there is part of your family.
Yes.
Martin in Cheltenham has texted into 81089. He says, if we are your family, next time you're treating your family to Sunday dinner, we will see you at Wetherspoons.
Oh, well, you know, if I ever do see people at Wetherspoons and they want to introduce themselves, that's
I thought you'd like to be left alone.
No, you're trying to make out I'm some kind of misanthrope, you know.
Well, table for one is not a phrase that came out of nowhere, is it?
Table for one, which is your invention, right?
It's not my invention at all. It's what you say whenever you go into Wetherspoons.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to put me down and make out that I'm some lonely individual who eats on his own in the corner because nobody wants to be with him.
That's exactly what you are.
In fact, you will find
now
normally...
you've got your leather pouch that you can stare at.
It's not a leather pouch, you idiot. It's a bag it's a leather bag in which my...
It's not leather.
In which my exclusive headphones are inserted, if you see what I mean. Now, I'll go into.
Yeah.
Now, what I was going to say is...
I haven't finished reading out the tweet yet.
Okay.
Woodenhead says, if we are in Porky's family, then he is the lunatic old grandfather who's lost his marbles.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it?
And then here's one from Matt, who says, if we're like family to Porky, then can I borrow £187 off my rich uncle Porky to buy me some posh headphones in a faux leather bag?
Well, why would you want those headphones? £10. Can you tell me what they're needed for, and then I'll make a consideration to what I call the Porky Charitable Fund.
Oh, yeah, OK. Well,
lots of people try to drain it.
Maybe you can send another one in. So, and Simon says, Porky, I'm a family member. Can I have some pocket money for some headphones? So this is what happens when you adopt. This is why you don't have a family, right? Because the proof is in the pudding. Whenever you say, oh, don't worry, all of you people are part of my family, the first thing that happens is they all start asking you for money.
I know, it's...
Isn't that terrible?
Well... No, I can't say that. I'm not criticising anybody. It's human nature to want to get involved in the ebb and flow of human emotion.
Yeah. Did you ever have a sort of wealthy uncle that you pestered for money?
I had nobody in my family was wealthy.
Really?
Most of...
Is that why you worshipped the almighty dollar so much?
Well, not really, but most of my sort of ancestors came from the peasantry. Believe me.
The peasantry.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Absolutely.
That's why you're a jumped-up middle-class snob.
No, not at all.
A member of the bourgeoisie.
Not at all. I mean, do you know I didn't meet 3 of my 4 grandparents?
Eh?
I never met 3 of my 4 grandparents.
Why?
Well, I don't know. They're just never around, or they're dead, or something.
Well, did they die before you were born?
Yeah, I think so. I think, or
one of my, I mean,
or just after I was born.
My maternal grandmother died before I was born, but I met my mother's father and both my father's parents.
I met my paternal grandmother once, and then she died.
Right.
I met. Hang on.
What, with the shock of it all?
No, I'm afraid that she had a liquidity problem.
Liquidity?
Well, they found 32 empty whiskey bottles in a room.
So it runs in the family then?
It does, I'm afraid, yeah. That was in the Isle of Man. She emigrated to the Isle of Man saying she wanted the fresh air.
OK. Didn't go out much.
I think she went for the tax-free whiskey. But anyway, that's by the by. I never met my paternal grandfather.
Why not?
He was dead before I was born.
Yeah.
My maternal grandmother, met her once.
Yeah.
And I met my maternal grandfather, get this, for the first time at my dad's funeral.
Oh, OK.
30 years ago.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
How come your mother's father had never been to see you?
It was all to do with the war and families being displaced.
Were they living far away or something?
No, it was they all brought up in Birkenhead.
Yeah.
Both my mother's side and my father's side. But it was blown to bits in the war because the docks were there. Camel Head was there that built ships. Right. I mean, Liverpool was still the biggest port in the world, remember, in 1940. Yeah. 1939-40. Yeah. And the whole place was blown to bits. And my mother was very young and she was sent away, if you see what I mean. My father went off to war at 17, didn't come back until he was 23, literally. Yeah. Right. And I'm afraid, because of the war, families got displaced.
They just lost touch.
And scattered, literally. And
that's a shame, really.
I think with my...
So after you met your grandfather for the first time at your dad's funeral, did you keep in touch with him?
No.
Why not?
I never saw him again.
Why not?
Well, because then he went off back to somewhere in Wallasey or somewhere like that.
It's not like he lived in Saudi Arabia.
No, but I lived in London. And
it's not that far away.
How do you build a relationship with somebody you've met for the first time in your life?
Well, you can try talking to them on the phone or writing to them. Or...
It never happened. But anyway, look, doesn't matter. I mean, lots of people have gone through that experience. Now, listen, I want to ask you this. I have been keeping in touch with my educational journals.
Oh, yeah.
And your children are more likely to live to 100 than not live to 100.
I've heard that, yeah.
Right?
I've heard that.
And do you know what?
Well, we're living longer and longer, aren't we?
We are.
Well, I mean, I'm more likely to live to 100 now than anybody else.
Well, you probably are, actually. Yeah. But, I mean, we've gone through that figure before. But the most interesting thing is, and I've said this before, everybody now should really prepare themselves for at least 2 marriages in their lifetime, OK? First one, children grown up and all that, and you both want new lives and all that, and you both go off and... But the most interesting thing is that because of the movement to Labour, and probably the current immigration situation is adding to this phenomenon, right? Yeah. The movement to Labour now is so easy, so rapid and so beneficial to economies that we could each, or your children anyway, could each have up to 40 different jobs in their lifetime.
40?
40, 4-0.
Well, there's one thing which is definitely the case, and that is that jobs security is now nothing like what it used to be. You know, where people would go into the civil service, or they would get a job in the council, or would get a job in the NHS, or something like that, and expect to have that job for the rest of their lives, even if they weren't particularly ambitious. You know, knowing what it's like for my daughter, for example, now, who's finding her way through the old corporate world, you know, getting a job which is in some way secure is almost impossible.
No, of course it is.
Almost impossible.
Of course it is.
So the idea that you would get a job and not then be looking for another job almost straight away is unthinkable. So most young people now in their 20s, I think I'm right in saying, are already always looking for a new job, even though they've got one.
And a new profession, a new way to do it. I mean, for instance, to a lesser degree, you and I have retrained into a different job.
Yeah.
We used to be newspaper journalists.
That's right.
We are now radio broadcasters.
Yes.
And still call ourselves journalists because we have to have...
Well, you never lose that, really, do you?
No, our journalistic discipline has to be there.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is...
And some people might say you're now, and I am perhaps too, a stage performer.
A stage performer, definitely, yeah. And, of course, you could also
Entertainer.
Entertainer. And you could also say, in my case, and I mean like me individually... You could say that I'm a star of the old...
well, there are some matters arising from that.
Podcast.
There are some matters arising from...
3.5 million downloads on my cinnamon... what's it called? A vodcast?
It's not a vodcast.
What's it called?
It's
video?
called a video.
Video, yeah. The old cinnamon challenge video.
You've never been happier, have you?
Sorry?
You've never been happier.
Well, I'm not boasting about it.
Yeah, of course you are.
No,
you
it's
just
not.
talk of nothing else.
People just keep
I'm
sending...
amazed we've got all the way through to almost 2 o'clock and you haven't mentioned it
Well,
yet.
I didn't want to mention it, but people keep sending messages saying, 3.5 million, and the next one will be 3.75 million, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can't help it if people want to watch it.
No, you can't help it.
No.
But, I mean, you're not exactly, doing anything to stop it from being spread like some kind of virus.
What do you want me to do? Stand there like Stonewall Jackson and say, I don't want anybody else to watch it? I give pleasure to people by doing these things, and they watch it, and it makes their lives. What are you going to tell me about messages you're getting about it? Complimentary, I hope?
Well, I'm getting lots of messages about it.
Lovely.
I mean, lots of people who have never seen it. One of the things that has happened on Facebook, though, is that people have started, being slightly more derogatory than you would like to think in terms of what they're headlining it when they send it out.
Oh, no.
Some of the things they're calling you, I can't repeat on the national radio. Family show and all that.
It was first picked up by the website called Joe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now
it's still being retweeted by various people.
But now it's been picked up by one that's got a rude name, which I'm, rather disappointed about.
No, it's not been picked up by one with a rude name. That's the name that has been given to your video.
What?
That's the name that's been given to your video.
By who?
By the people who think that you are what they describe you as.
Well, I mean, this is very out of order.
Yeah.
In that case...
an effing four-letter word, I think, is about all I can say.
Legal action... You see, you're only jealous and envious.
I'm not at all jealous.
Because you don't have the same appeal to the masses that I do.
The thing that you love...
The masses love me because I communicate.
No, the masses love you because you're one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Even though you wouldn't want to spend any time with them, you wouldn't want to drink with them,
completely
you wouldn't want to visit
untrue.
them in their scummy council houses, you are one of them.
How dare you talk like that about people who are good, solid, salt-of-the-earth working-class people?
Yeah, but
there's nothing wrong with them, you know.
The people you look down on.
No.
With your 43 grand Mercedes.
No.
And your fleet of luxury penthouse flats that you rent out to Egyptian doctors.
No. Well,
and your crappy headphones in your faux leather bag. That's what you're all about.
I don't know
That talks to me about being man of the people.
Why this outrageous insulting attack on me? I mean, your envy and your jealousy and your sheer malice towards me is evident of only one thing. You resent my lifestyle. You resent my achievements in life.
You're absolutely right. I wish I was you.
I
wish I could have a shirt like that. I wish my arms were that short. I wish my shoes fastened with Velcro instead of with laces.
Yeah. Have you had your face done lately?
By whom?
Well, I'm telling you better watch it because,
I remember what happened when we had the boxing challenge.
You won't need plastic surgery very soon, pal, believe me.
You barely registered above mother
care's Your teeth dropped
level.
out yet?
No.
No, well, they will do soon.
Why?
If you smoke 40 cigarettes a day, this is another report I've had from my medical journals, your teeth will turn black and drop out. Pete Doherty's teeth have dropped out.
I don't think that was the cigarettes. I think it was the heroin.
That's a bit odd.
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, a little bit later on. Got quite a few texts and emails to read out, Mr. Parry, if I may.
Yes, please do.
From someone who, it's called Brooksy, who says this: as an Englishman, I'll be shouting for Northern Ireland, but no way would I ever cheer on Scotland. Right. I worked up there during the Germany World Cup, and they shouted for anyone playing England. Some even bought tops of the teams we played. Since then, I've always hoped they get stuffed, whoever they play, and how funny would it be for all the other home nations to be in France, while the porridge gobblers, as he calls them, are at home.
Porridge gobblers.
That's a bit unkind. And to be honest, I mean, if you don't get the Scottish kind of sense of humour about that kind of thing, then you probably shouldn't have any business going up there, because, I mean, they do it as a bit of a laugh and they get themselves worked up.
I think there's a level of bitterness below the laughter line. But anyway, I'll be supporting them. I'll be supporting Northern Ireland, supporting Wales.
Yeah.
Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales. I want them all to qualify.
OK. Jennifer says, I asked my grandson, who's English, if he'll support Wales now that England are out, and he says no, he's going to support New Zealand and or the box. He's only 8 years old.
New Zealand and who?
And or the box.
The Boks.
The Boks. Well, you're a rugby expert. You know who the Boks are, don't you?
Oh, the Boks, the South Africans.
Yes, indeed. The Springboks.
B-O-K-S. Yes, Springboks. Yeah, I know all about them. Yeah, I know about them. You don't worry. And listen, the other thing I saw today was, I don't know if you saw it, the Aurora Borealis was being witnessed from the door. The Aurora Borealis.
You mean Borealis?
Yeah, was being witnessed from the doorstep of homes in places like Barrow-in-Furness.
Barrow-in-Furness?
Yes.
The place where you can go in but you can't get out.
That's right, absolutely.
Well, imagine being trapped in there staring at the Aurora Borealis for the next 3 nights.
I know, it's not bad, is it?
Have you ever seen the Northern Lights?
Yes, I went to Iceland and saw them.
You actually saw them?
Saw them in Iceland,
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, it was spectacular. Green. Yeah, green.
Green and blue.
Pink.
And lots of different colours. Really.
Pink, yeah.
People now go on holidays to lie just basically lie on the ground, looking up and watch them.
I know. That's what I did.
In Alaska, apparently, it's very good.
I was a pioneer. Now listen, again, talking about tweets and text, okay?
Yeah.
So you mocked me roundly last night when I say, well, the effect of charging for plastic bags at 5p a time is that people now are going to nick...
ludicrous idea.
Yeah, going to nick the wire baskets and the trolleys from supermarkets.
Yeah.
Well, I only got a communication today from more than one of our millions of followers saying, hi, mate.
I saw loads of these.
Listen to the show last night. Yeah. Got to my normal supermarket day to find that the baskets and the trolleys have been newly tagged this morning.
Yeah,
right?
well, that probably makes some sense, doesn't
because of what's going to happen. People are going to try and steal the wire baskets and the trolleys because they won't pay for the bags.
No, they won't. Absolute rubbish.
Well, why have they tagged them then?
Because they do that.
Why have they tagged them? Why have they tagged them?
Why do you keep asking the same question?
Because you're trying to wriggle out of it. I'm not going to let you wriggle out of it.
Well, have you ever been?
You're a thickhead.
Have you ever been to a supermarket where you have to put a coin in to get a trolley?
Yes, of course.
Well, they do that in lots of parts of the country, right?
Yes.
What they're now going to do is just do it in more parts of the country because, to be honest, unfortunately, there are some people in this country who are vandals and who take trolleys
and why today?
And throw them away.
Why today?
Well, it could be a complete coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
Why wouldn't they have done it last week?
No, it's cause and effect.
No,
it's cause and effect.
You've got one example of one supermarket putting chains on their trolleys. It's hardly an epidemic, is it?
No, it's the timing of it. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I talked to you about.
Why did you buy new headphones today instead of, for example, what Westrin says?
Yes.
I thought Porky was going to get that boy some sports glasses so he could play football. Yeah. Instead, he spends money on his own headphones.
No, I'd happily fund that. If I could find the mother involved, I will definitely do it.
Well, she's a working mother, isn't she?
Yes, she is. But I would just hope that the local authority will not get... by the way, somebody called Bob Sharple sent me...
oh, really?
Yeah, this is Bob whose face got smashed up when he was wearing glasses.
Is he the Bob Sharple?
No, I think it was a joke.
Really?
Listen, talking about dishonesty, I wanted to raise this with you because the third case of it happened today.
Oh, yeah.
These people, right, who they're either moving house or something or trying to move some valuable equipment around, and they get on the old website, the internet, and they look for a man with a van.
Oh, I've heard this story.
I've
heard about
this. And then they ring this mobile phone number. Yeah, hello, man with van here.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, man with van. Look, I want to move, in one particular case, £8,000 worth of champagne.
Yeah.
This guy was a vintner.
Right.
Is it vintner?
Vintner, yeah.
Vintner, so he deals in wines.
Yeah.
So the guy says, that shouldn't be a problem. I've done lots of work with beers, wines and spirits before. We've got special stuff to hold it tight in the back of the van. Oh, he said, that's perfect, thank you. So he comes round to this guy's, home.
Right.
And they put £8,000 worth of champagne in the back of the van. Right, thanks, mate, and all that. Hands him over the money in cash.
Right, never sees him again.
Never see him again. And didn't see a champagne again.
Shocking.
Right,
Absolutely
2 days
shocking.
before...
But there was another story that I heard earlier in the week. Was there not? I don't know if it's the same guy.
The whole contents of a house, disappeared.
Yeah.
And they think it might have been the same guy, but it was a different part of the country.
Right.
This happened in London, where this vintner worked, and the other one happened in somewhere like the Midlands or something. But I mean...
Well, there are an awful lot of unscrupulous people around.
But the thing is, the email address and the mobile phone number, which both were registered with the business, disappeared minutes after the champagne did as well.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, it's very easy, I guess, to set up an email address and a phone number.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure that this would prevent it from happening, but you would think that if you're going to hire somebody to move some quite expensive stuff, you'd ask for references, wouldn't you? And I'm sure they could probably supply full references.
Would you? I mean,
I would, yeah.
If you go onto a website and they've designed it properly and it says, established, 1914 or something.
See, because you're gullible, though.
You
believe that.
Well, it's never happened to me.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing that would happen
This
to you.
has never happened to me.
It's the kind of thing that would happen to you.
I don't think
because
so.
you believe everything you read.
I don't think so.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
And I mean, in the end, I'm afraid as much as I feel bad for these people who've lost their stuff, it's caveat emptor, isn't it? I mean, you just can't, trust anybody, unfortunately.
It's what? Caveat
emptor. You're a student of Latin, aren't you?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Well, you don't know what that means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Beware the seller.
Beware the seller. No, it means let the buyer beware.
Let the buyer beware.
So whoever you're buying stuff from.
Yeah.
I had a terrible experience today. Well, not a terrible experience in the scheme of things. But
yes.
I had to go and get a brake light fixed on the Land Rover, right? So I thought...
Oh, which one? The old wreck or the not-so-old wreck?
No, the not-so-old wreck.
Oh, right,
okay,
yeah.
It's called,
yeah, okay.
And,
so not the jalopy, the wreck?
No, the jalopy's passed its MOT test. So it's perfectly safe to drive for another year.
So I didn't know you could drive around in cars with holes in the bonnet.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can? Oh, right, okay. So they didn't worry about the hole in your bonnet then?
It's got a dent in the bonnet. That does not mean that it is not a serviceable car.
It's a huge gouge.
To pass an MOT test.
Anyway, please go on.
That's not a problem. Anyway, I just need to replace a brake light, right? Which, funnily enough, I have because I had replaced a brake light before, I don't know, about 6 or 7 months ago on the car.
And it came in a packet of two,
It comes in a packet of two.
Oh,
so I still
quite
I've
handy.
got that.
So why didn't you replace it yourself then?
Well, because I don't do that. It's not something that I do.
How ridiculous. And you call me, I'm not a man of the people. I could screw the cover off a light and replace the bulb easy.
Oh, good. Well, you can do mine then for me.
Yeah, well, if you
when
want.
you finish work this morning, between 4
and 6... Have you got
6,
a set of tools?
Between 4 and 6, there might be a set of tools in the car. Between 4 and 6,
yes.
While I'm toiling away here, while you're doing nothing, you could go down and fix my light for me then.
If I have my tools with me...
Have you got tools in your car?
I have a set of... No, I'm not going to say the word.
Can openers?
No, I have...
What?
I have 20 spanners and...
That's 21 spanners in the car then.
Well, that's very original. That's exactly what I was going to tell you what my toolkit comprised of.
Why have you got 20 spanners in your car?
They're different sizes.
Yeah, but for what though? What do you need them for?
Well, in case anything goes wrong, I suppose.
Don't worry. Don't panic. Yeah. I've got 20 spanners here.
But I've also got...
It didn't do that old guy any good when he got a flat tyre, did it?
Well, it didn't, no. I wasn't able to help, unfortunately. But I've also got 20 screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Each of which has got a different thing at the end.
Well, a smaller or a larger bit.
Well, some of them are
Some will be Phillips, presumably.
Exactly. Some of them are traditional screwdrivers with like a blade
that's
ending.
Exactly what you need. That's all you need.
What?
That's all you need to...
It's a Phillips, though, I need, isn't it?
No, I don't think you do.
I've got a set of them as well.
Well, whatever... You will certainly have a screwdriver that will fit... Because what you've got to do with the Land Rover is you've got to take the whole back off.
Yeah, well, that's easy. You just get the right size Phillips screwdriver. No. And by the way, they're power as well. So it's not... You just go... Ish,
is it a ratchet scenario?
That's right, yeah.
Well, I mean, you might be you'd be able to do it then.
Easy,
the problem I
easy.
found was that the guy goes off to do it, and I pay my £5 for him to fit it, which is very reasonable. They're usually very good Halfords, but I didn't like the look of this guy. He didn't look as if he was, shall we say, wedded to the job. He didn't look like it was really his.
Now you've
kind of
named
thing.
Halfords as the company you went to. And you say that
because they weren't able to help me,
and you think one of their people was
swinging the lead a little. I would say
less than 100% helpful.
I'm saying so. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, we won't ask you which branch it was.
No, I won't tell you. But, I mean, I've been there many times before, and they've been incredibly helpful, but it wasn't the same guy.
Perhaps they didn't like the look of you.
No, it wasn't the same guy that I've ever dealt with in the past.
Right.
He wasn't there.
Right.
Anyway, this guy comes back after about a minute and says, I'm having terrible trouble unscrewing the screws, and I don't want to damage the thread, so I don't think I can do it.
And you shouted at him?
I didn't shout at him. I said, what do you mean you can't do it? I said, I brought it here before, and it was done perfectly well. I said, it can be a bit tricky to get it on and off, but, it can be done. He said, oh, well, I'm not willing to damage the thread. And so I said, well, what am I supposed to do now then? He said, well, you can go inside and get a refund.
Refund for what?
For the £5 that I paid to have it fitted in.
Is that what you do? Pay £5?
Yeah, you pay £5.
So they hire out their sort of shop workers as mechanics?
They advertise that they do it.
Oh, I see.
It's part of their service.
This is poor.
It's very poor.
Yeah.
He said, oh, well, you can go to a garage and they'll do it for you. And I said, well, I don't want to go to a garage. I want you to do it.
Why should you go to the garage? Yeah.
Anyway, I'll tell you the rest of the story in a minute because we're running out of time.
I don't think we want to know the rest of the story.
Yeah, no, there's more to it.
Cares.
No, there's more to it, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
We'll be back. We are the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. More from the terrible brake light story coming next.
The BMW i3. It's not just an electric car. It's an electric car that drives like a BMW. Rentals from £299 per month. Discover more at bmw.co.uk/i3. £3,699 initial rental, 36-month hire agreement from BMW Financial Services, subject to status and availability for new vehicles ordered before 31st of December 2015 and registered by 31st of March 2016. UK only, guarantees may be required. Mileage and other conditions apply when you return the vehicle.
If you're fitting a new boiler, here's some food for thought. Baxi put their tasty new Rewards Without Limits deal on the menu. Register 2 Baxi Eco Blue or Baxi Platinum boilers before November 30th and get a free Baxi jacket. And that's just for starters. For each additional boiler you register, you'll get a £25 restaurant voucher to dine out at loads of places, including Nando's and Pizza Express. Baxi's Rewards Without Limits. There is such a thing as a free lunch. Or dinner. Baxi. Make it easy. See baxi.co.uk for terms and conditions.
We took the all-new Mitsubishi L200 Series 5 across the globe for 18 days and 4,267 miles. We conquered the Sahara Desert and the Atlas Mountains to show the world the most manoeuvrable, economic, efficient, safest and capable pickup we've ever made. The Mitsubishi L200 Series 5, showing the world how it's done. Search Mitsubishi L200 and test the best.
I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, what's going to be revealed here? I felt a bit of fear. And then what actually came out of my mouth was, go ahead, you can tell me anything. Whatever way you feel comfortable in whatever environment, just start that conversation. I just send her a text saying, do you have food in your house? Do you have milk to make a cup of tea? And she knows then that I'm thinking of her.
Small things can make a big difference when it comes to mental health. Search Time to Change online to discover the small things you can do.
Alex Haywood from London turned a £1 entry into £10,000 in a one-day fantasy football contest at mondogold.com. And you could too. Register today, pick your team, deposit cash and play in free or paid one-day tournaments. So far, over £200,000 has been won. Play today at mondogold.com and enter promo code ALEX for a bonus on your first deposit. mondogold.com. Fantasy football, real cash. Players must be 18 or over. Mondo Gold supports responsible gambling.
At the Lexus used car event, you'll receive a rate of 3.9% APR on all used cars over 1 year old, including 1 year warranty and 1 year roadside assistance, but only from the 8th to the 12th of October. So you'd better hurry. 3.9% APR representative on Lexus used cars over 1 year old when flexibly financed through Lexus Financial Services. T's and C's apply. Finance subject to status to over 18s. Indemnities may be required. Participating centres only.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action.
To say I'm angry is an understatement.
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
I don't like listening to him, I'll turn off.
Drive home with Darren Gough and Adrian Durham, weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports. The home of the Barclays Premier League for the next 4 seasons.
Tomorrow night from 7, updates of England's clash with Estonia. Home Nations Weekend on Talk Sport.
I am the cider drinker. I drinks it all of the day. I am the cider drinker. It soothes all me troubles away. O-R-O-R-A. O-R-O-R-A. Proper jobs. What a
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It is Porky Vision night tonight. I'm not quite sure why we're playing the Wurzel.
Well, I'll tell you.
Why?
I'll tell you, because it's another one of these stories which drives me mad, wasting taxpayers' money on promoting the Cornish language.
The Cornish language?
Cornish.
What is the Cornish language?
Well, the Cornish language is like Cornish, if you see what I mean.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like what? Give me an example of something in Cornish.
OK. You want something Cornish?
Yeah, I don't think the Wurzels are from Cornwall, by the way, are they?
They're from Somerset.
Yeah.
But it's near Cornwall.
That's as close as you can get.
Yeah, it's near Cornwall.
Yeah,
I mean, I must say you do drink. They drink loads of cider in Cornwall, so that's what made me think about it. You know what I mean?
Not like generalising or anything.
No, here, listen.
Yeah. That's why they want to preserve their heritage, because Muppets like you think they're from Somerset.
No, here. Dida Ayalta Kusel Kenaweka.
Sounds like the hacker you're doing.
Well, that's hello, can you speak Cornish? Here.
No.
What about what about this one? What about this one? Here, you'll get this. Right. Anna Yilta Ohavenda Hesha. Can't you understand me?
No, I can't.
That's right, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is one.
What's Cornish for no?
No, here, this sums up completely what they're doing. Ass, ye skol, agonha.
Skoll is like a Viking word, isn't it?
No, it's what a waste of money.
Yeah, really?
What a waste of money. But let me tell you what's going on, right?
Okay.
Thousands of teaching staff, right? No, hang on. No, they're going to spend thousands of pounds.
How many thousands?
30.
Well, that's not very much.
It's a hell of a lot, £30,000.
That could £30,000 of public money.
£30,000 could give a man in Cornwall a job for life, for a year.
Job for life?
A job for a year to support his wife and 2 children. Now then, they're spending £30,000 on promoting the Cornish language.
Who are?
The Cornish, what's the name? A council.
Cornish Council?
Yeah, the Cornish Council.
What Cornish Council?
Well, the Council of Cornwall, you idiot.
Well,
the
Cornwall
county.
doesn't just have one council, does it?
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
The county council
Well,
only
like
has
Surrey,
one.
Like Surrey only has one council in it?
Listen, a Cornwall council spokesman said Cornish is a unique cultural asset which underpins the distinctiveness of Cornwall and has an important part to play in the cultural, economic and social life in the region.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can I just tell you this?
Go on.
How many people do you think actually speak Cornish in Cornwall?
Well, knowing that 60,000 or so speak Gaelic in Scotland, which is a much bigger part of the world,
yes,
I would say you're talking about less than 5,000.
You're talking 500.
500?
You're talking only for...
Oh, that's quite close then.
That
wasn't bad.
Ridiculous.
Well, 5,000?
You've got it wrong by 1,000%, you idiot.
1,000%?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Certain, yeah. 500 to 5,000.
500 times 1,000
is by a factor of 10.
Yeah.
Now then,
thank you.
Now then, what I was going to say is, Cornish is a protected European minority language, but in the 2011 census, only 500 people list it as their mother tongue.
Yeah.
The council's current annual bill for promoting it is £30,000.
Right.
I
mean, I know that it seems like a waste of money to you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in the scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, £30,000.
It's ridiculous.
In terms of the way that public money is spent.
Do you know what I think is... do you know what the language is called, by the way, Cornish? It's called Kernaweki.
Kernaweki?
Kernaweki, the Kernaweki language.
Do they use the same alphabet, or is it a different alphabet?
No, they use the same alphabet, but it is recognised worldwide as one of the least spoken languages in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, the least spoken language in the world, and all these mad councillors down in Cornwall, which is not a rich county, except for the tourist industry.
Well, it
doesn't produce anything in Cornwall.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
They don't produce anything.
They've got tourism is a big thing in Cornwall.
Yeah, but only for half of the year.
And what about the cider that they produce that you were talking about?
No, they don't produce any cider in Cornwall.
Well, they just drink it.
Yeah, that's right. The cider's produced in Herefordshire and Somerset.
Do they produce beer down there?
No, not much. Oh, a bit. The Doom Bars,
they used to have a lot of tin mines, didn't they?
Eh?
They used to have a lot of tin mines.
Yeah, but they all closed down, didn't they? Didn't you see Poldark? Didn't you watch Poldark?
Poldark's a fictional show.
Yeah, but Poldark represents what happened in Cornwall. All the tin mines closed down.
Okay.
And that's why, of course, the Cornish pasty is like it is, isn't it?
Why?
Well, the crust on...
What do you mean, so that they used to take it down the mines?
They take it down the mines, and they used to eat it by holding the
Well, there you go, the Cornish pasty is quite a big export for Cornwall.
Well, it is, but what I'm saying is, what a complete nutter waste of time.
There's a Cornish pasty company, I think.
Complete nutter waste of time. Cornish...
Well, it's equivalent to, what, £50 or £60 per head of those people that speak Cornish.
Well, I think it's rubbish.
Much, is it?
So, Cornish speaker, Councillor Loveday Jenkin... God, blimey, that's a silly name, isn't it? Who heads... Well, Loveday is a Christian name.
What doesn't matter what his name is.
Who heads the Cornish Language Fellowship, said, I think it's a positive step. Cornwall is very lucky to have its own language. It helps establish our unique cultural identity. Well, I mean, if every county in this country, and there's 50 of them, isn't there, 51... had its own language.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, had its own language.
Well, it's not the same, is it? I mean,
it would be so divisive.
Surrey does not have its own language.
Why do Cornish people think they're so special?
They don't, but they've got their own language. In the same way that the Welsh have got their own language, in the same way that the Scots have got their own language.
Do you know what the Cornish flag is?
Yeah, it's a black and white cross, isn't it?
It's black with a white cross.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that all about?
It looks a little bit like...
You think they are pirates?
Well, I mean, there is a bit of a pirate heritage going on down there. I mean, some of the smuggling that used to go on and all that.
I was about to...
Have you seen Poldark?
Yeah, I've seen Poldark, yeah. I mean, Cornwall, I'll tell you what, the major industry in Cornwall was 200 years ago. It was crime.
Yeah.
Thievery, theft, smuggling, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And wrecking ships on the rocks.
Yeah, well, that's true
Murderers. Too. A lot of Cornish people are murderers. They are. I don't know what you're laughing at. It's true. It's true.
That's possibly the worst generalisation of all time.
They lured the ships onto the rocks.
A lot of Cornish people are murderers.
Well, have been in the past. They lured the ships onto the rocks. The rocks all split up. And then, do you know what?
What?
When those poor sailors were swimming ashore trying to save their lives, do you know, and they got very tired swimming ashore.
Yeah, of course.
The Cornish guys on the beach would walk out and hold their heads underwater to drown them. Because the sailors would have to try and protect the cargo on the ship, which they wanted to steal.
Now you're making it up.
I'm not making it up.
You must have seen that.
It was brutal.
Episode of Poldark.
Do you know what? It's reckoned by local historians in Cornwall that every family in Cornwall has a descendant who at one time was a smuggler, a wrecker, or a pirate.
Well,
how about that?
Well, that doesn't surprise me. You might as well say that people in Australia are all related to convicts.
So that's the sort of heritage we're trying to protect, and I think it's a damned outrage.
I don't think it is. I disagree completely. A couple of tweets for you on the subject of cyclists. One from London Taxi Thinker, who says, "Spot on, Mr. P. No way would London streets be narrowed for cycles if the mayor wasn't a cyclist himself.
That's true,
How
actually.
egotistical is he?"
Yeah.
Mikey says, "Porky's rant 100% spot on. Time for a petition to make cyclists take tests, pay road tax, insurance, etc."
Yes.
And then here's one from Riyadh, who says £180 isn't all that expensive for decent headphones.
No, exactly.
So he's on your side.
Thank you.
And John says bikes are dangerous, there's no indicators, etc. Need a debate about bikes being regulated and should at least have third-party insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with all of that. And if a cyclist who hasn't got a light on his bike, which is against the law, I thought, and yet I never see anybody stopped by a policeman these days and said, "Where's your light, Sonny?" I used to get stopped by policemen saying, "Where's your light, Sonny?" and all that kind of stuff.
Did you?
If I was riding
What, you
around
mean
on a
you
bike...
rode around on a bike without lights on?
Well, the battery...
And you're giving a hard time to people who ride around without lights on?
No. The battery might have gone, or my dynamo might have bust, you know? I had a dynamo on the front wheel of my bike, which should generate electricity to power the lights.
Well, lots of people did.
Yeah, well, it's not difficult. Why can't they do it these days?
You don't see those so much anymore.
I know. I don't know why they can't do it
Why
these
haven't you let me
days.
finish my story about the lights on the back of my car, by the way?
Because nobody was interested. But
Well,
please,
no, let me tell
please
you.
go on.
Let me tell you what happened, right?
Okay.
So I went back inside, and there was, of course, a queue of people at the cash till, right? So I had to wait for 10 minutes, and I wasn't particularly happy about it.
Yeah,
And I finally get to the cash till, and I said, so I gave him my receipt. I said, the guy outside says he can't do my car, so can I have my £5 back, please?
Yes.
Oh, hold on a minute. Yes, he's mentioned it to me. I'm like, yeah, okay then. So she then starts popping about on the till, right? And this kind of screen comes up, and she goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "What do you need to know my name for?"
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, "Well, it's part of our company policy." I said, "Well, you know, I don't want to give you my name. I just want my £5 back, please."
Yeah.
"Well, I've got to have your name or else I can't give you the £5. So I'm like, okay, so I gave her my name. And she said, "What's your postcode?"
Yeah.
I said, "Why do you need my
that for?"
postcode?"
Yeah.
Company policy. I said, "Well, I don't really want to give you my postcode." "Well, then I can't give you the £5. This went backwards and forwards until she then asked for my email address. She asked for my mobile phone number.
How much information did you give them?
I didn't give them the email or the phone number,
Right,
but I had
okay.
to give them the postcode, so
Yeah.
they got my address.
Yeah.
Had to give them my name.
Well, what happened now is you'll get junk mail, won't you?
Well, probably. And then I had to sign another receipt, which she then had to print
For the
out,
refund?
which took about another 5 minutes. And I said, you know, why can't you just give me the £5 note that I gave you? How is this so difficult?
I don't know.
There's more to the story as well, you know.
Well, go on then.
Well, I've got time now.
Well, come on. Have you had the bulb replaced?
No.
Well, you're a complete failure then.
Well, I haven't finished the story yet.
Honestly, you couldn't organise breakfast for your children, you couldn't.
Yeah, I can organise breakfast for them all the time.
And if you can't even replace a light bulb on your car, you're a pathetic non-entity.
Thank you very much indeed.
Talk Sport.
It's a shot from the edge of the box.
There is no opposition.
Now with increased comfort.
Talk Sport.
We're only getting older, baby, and I've been thinking about it lately. Does it ever drive you crazy? Just how fast the night changes everything that you've ever.
Now, if I didn't know that was One Direction...
Is that One Direction?
Yeah, that is One Direction.
You see, I would regard that as quite pleasant.
Yeah,
but,
you probably would.
But utterly uninspiring.
Bland,
yeah. You see, I've got this theory, Mike, which is a good theory about music, okay?
Good theory.
Yeah, it is a good theory, honestly. Think about the days of Beethoven, Chopin.
The days of Beethoven?
Yeah, Chopin.
What days were they?
Schubert. Well, the sort of 17th, 18th centuries.
Well,
and a bit of the
he
19th.
He was quite old then, when he died.
Don't be
He
ridiculous.
spanned 300 years.
Don't be ridiculous. No, you didn't, you idiot
Right,
fool.
go on.
What I'm saying is the great composers of classical music only wrote classical music.
Yeah, they didn't write words, did they?
They didn't write words.
No.
So you have to ask yourself, how come they didn't figure out how to put together a song like Satisfaction? Or,
Well, they didn't have electric guitars for a start.
No, well, you didn't need electric guitars, did you?
You would, to get the riff.
No, not at all.
You can't play it without electric guitar.
You could have actually done that on a violin.
Well, you can do any number of things.
Yeah,
on any number.
yeah,
You can play it on a
exactly.
bloody recorder if you want to, but it wouldn't sound the same, would it?
All right. Well, why didn't Beethoven have the ability to write "Hey Jude"? Because that hasn't got any guitars in it, right?
I don't know.
because it's piano based, you know.
And he was a good pianist.
Exactly. Hey Jude,
Why are you
don't
moving your
make
hands
it
around
sad,
like
because I'm playing the piano on
Don't
the
make
desk.
it what?
What?
What did you say?
Well, it doesn't
Don't
matter.
make it what?
Doesn't matter.
You said don't make it Jack.
No, I didn't. I said, hey Jude, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
You have made it, now go on. No, found it, now go and get it. Anyway, listen, just shut up, ruin it with you. Whole point of my story is,
hey, Jude, I prefer that version.
I'm constantly perplexed as to why
I know you are.
Beethoven or Chopin, who was a piano expert.
He was
a piano expert.
Well, most of them were piano experts.
So why couldn't Chopin have written Hey Jude? Now,
I'll
tell you why.
What's the answer?
I'll tell you the answer
Go
is.
on, then.
The answer is that they could only see music in one dimension, and that was the dimension of the classical.
One direction.
Exactly, of the classical composition.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was...
But mind you, before they came along, there was no music of their style either.
No,
so
that's what I mean. They invented it.
They innovated a certain type of music.
They did, of course they did, yeah. Now, what happened was, as we drifted into the end of the 19th century, the 20th century, people... started with their improved intelligence to realise there was a different way of putting musical notes together. And that became, first of all, Glenn Miller and his big band sound.
Was that anything to do with intelligence, or was it to do with the evolution of I don't know, of musical instruments, perhaps?
I'm certain it was
to do with...
for
example, Les Paul, that we talked about.
Yes.
There's no doubt that his invention of the electric guitar
absolutely no
completely revolutionised music.
Absolutely no doubt. And you're absolutely right about that, you know. And there's also no doubt that a voice like Elvis Presley that could handle a range of notes that could never been handled before revolutionised the way to sing.
And probably the radio did as well.
And the radio did, of course. But the point where I'm getting to is this. In the 60s and the 70s, excuse me, and even the 80s, I'm fine, brilliant new composers like Lennon McCartney, like Jagger and Richards, like David Bowie... there we go. Like Benny and Bjorn of ABBA, right?
Yes.
And like people like Roxy Music,
Plant and Page.
Brian Ferry, Plant and Page, definitely. All these great. Now, they worked out ways with the... Clapton, definitely. With the new musical instruments they had at their disposal.
Elvis Stardust.
Yeah, absolutely. To put together music in a different way. To put together musical notes... No, not Mud. Shut up for a minute. Listen. To put together musical notes in a different form, different fashion, in a different way, to make different sounds.
Yeah.
But after 35 or 40 years of that, leading up to about the year 2000, when did Oasis come along? 96?
They came along sometime in the 90s.
Yeah. So by the year we reached 2000, then these brilliant new young composers, including Noel Gallagher even, including Noel Gallagher, had actually got through every possible combination of musical notes to invent new songs.
No, I don't
and
think
now,
that's true.
it is true, and now all the songs we get now from these boy bands and these people are just melodies. All they do is sing in harmony.
I don't think that's true.
With very bland songs because they can't invent any new music. There is no more new music to be invented.
It's being invented all the time. You're just not aware of it.
No. All the music that can be invented has been invented.
Pipe down for a minute. The point about the X Factor and The Voice and all these shows is that they happen to be in vogue at the moment. Yep. And so quite often what you're seeing is people singing songs that have already been written previously for other people. That is not to say that the musical kind of regeneration that goes on constantly has stopped. Because it hasn't. You're just not hearing some of it because you don't have any access to the outlets under which that sort of music is being played.
In 200 years' time...
There are plenty of bands out there that are doing new music and doing new things and coming up with new ideas.
Let me tell you
coming up with new ways of playing the music as well.
Let me tell you this. In 200 years' time, people will still be playing Lennon McCartney songs.
I'm sure they will.
And Jagger Richards songs. But in 200 years' time, nobody will even have heard of people like Take That...
I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's true.
1D.
I'm not sure that's true.
What was the other band called? Was it Blue? Were they a boy band?
Blue, yes.
Yeah. What were all the Irish bands called?
There was Boy's Own.
There you go.
Westlife.
Nobody will ever...
I'm not sure that's right.
No, it isn't right, Mike, because they didn't make any great records.
The point is...
All they did was stand there in harmony. I mean, listen, most of them weren't singers. Most of them were dancers. Most of them were dancers.
Singers.
Eh?
Of course they were singers.
Well, only one or two of them could sing. The rest were dancers. And they mimed and just pranced around.
Yeah, right.
They were.
Do you want to know why we're playing about
They were
One Direction
dancer-prancers. They were not singer-songwriters.
Well, do you want to know why we're playing One Direction? Because there's a story attached to it, which you've completely and utterly, filibustered for about the last 5 minutes.
Come on, tell me.
Now, One Direction are playing a show in Scotland at the moment at the SSE Hydro. which is down by the Clyde there, right?
The SSE Hydro.
The Hydro,
okay,
it's a new venue down there.
Right, okay.
But because they're in Glasgow, they were talking about their first visit to Glasgow, which they did just after they'd come out of the X Factor in 2010.
2010.
And they said in an interview that their favourite place ever to play was the Garage.
The Garage,
which
in
is
Glasgow.
where we're going
We are.
on December the 5th.
December the 5th, the two mics at the Garage in Sauchiehall Street. The Garage, in Sauchiehall Street. And what a, what a romantic...
one of the reasons why they said they liked it so much?
Why?
Because they got loads of freebies.
Loads of freebies?
Loads of freebies.
What, like free drinks?
Yeah, they got free shirts, they got free kind of thing, all free drinks.
Are we getting all that?
Well, I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I hope so, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be treated any differently than One Direction was.
I tell you what, it'll be a huge moment in my life to say, we're performing in Sauchiehall Street tomorrow night. That'll be fantastic. I can't wait.
It will.
Got a lot of mates coming, by the way. A lot of Glasgow pals and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
you're
not giving away too many tickets.
Well, I'm not giving too many tickets away.
Because I'm getting inundated by people that I haven't heard from for years.
I bet you are, yeah.
Saying, any chance of a couple of tickets?
Yeah.
I'm having to fob them all off, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm quite happy to help out a few friends who want to come. That's not a problem at all. But that's stupendous.
That's quite exciting, though, isn't it?
Before we get to Glasgow, of course, we will be in Birmingham on Friday, November the 13th. And I have to say, and to come as a bit of a shock, is that since the old Cinnamon Challenge video went viral...
Yeah. How many is it up to now?
3.6 million.
Yeah, God.
When we just looked.
It's quite frightening.
It is. There's been a rush on the tickets in Birmingham because part of it... Funny enough, our live shows...
Do you realise that's 5% of the population?
Is that right? That's incredible, isn't it? Our live shows, we did actually build our first live show around the Cinnamon Challenge video, didn't we? And it is always a part of the live show.
Yeah.
So, listen, folks, we're looking forward to seeing you in Birmingham and in Glasgow. We can't wait to get there.
Now, let me read you a couple of tweets that have come in. David says this, Porky, you're right. I live in Walsall, West Midlands, and since the 5p charge has come in, baskets have been going missing from Tesco and Asda.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll tell you what I'm really worried about tonight is there's a lot of people agreeing with you.
Well, that's because I get it right. I normally get it right, mate. You know, you don't get
also,
things right.
A lot of people from Scotland and Northern Ireland saying that, we've had the 5p charge for ages and nobody's done anything wrong. I don't know what the problem is with the English.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. Here's one from Chris and Frazzle, who both say the same thing. Cornish murderers, another part of the country the two mics can't perform in.
Well, look, we'd love to go to Cornwall and see people. There's some beautiful places in Cornwall. St Ives is my favourite.
Yeah.
I went to St Ives about 30 years ago when I first went there, or maybe longer, maybe 35 years ago.
Could be.
And it was a tiny little place, Mike, and used to walk up and down these narrow little streets, up to the top and down again to the beach.
There's massive tourism business there now.
But, I mean, I'm telling you now, it is so busy. They've got a Tate Gallery there.
Yeah.
They've got, designer restaurants where, I'm not joking, a large glass of Pinot Grigio, £9.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure that's true.
In places like St Ives, that used to be £2.50, honestly.
Well, what about that town that's now been taken over completely by Rick Stein? The celebrity chef.
Padstow.
Where I went, And when I went, he only had one restaurant and one hotel and one shop.
Right.
I think he's now got about 4 restaurants.
It's unbelievable.
About 5 hotels.
Yeah.
I mean, Padstow's literally, might as well rename it Rick Stein Town.
Absolutely.
You know?
You know the great Rodgers and Hammerstein thing, the Pirates of Penzance.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Wasn't that Gilbert and Sullivan?
That was Gilbert and Sullivan, that's right.
Not
yeah,
Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No, I knew it was one of them.
Yeah.
And of course, so when we went to St Ives, many, many years ago, it
When
was
you say
over
we,
30 years
would
ago.
you mean you and your family?
No, me and my girlfriend and another couple. You
went with two couples. Oh, that's just news, isn't it? Let's have some of this then.
Sorry, what's this?
So who did you go with then? Tell us.
What's the problem?
Well, I've never heard of you going on a sort of couple's holiday.
Well, I went with my girlfriend.
Was there any swinging involved, was there?
No. And my mate from school,
swinging.
his name was Terry.
Terry?
Yeah, and he had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Was
he a good-looking guy, this Terry?
He was.
Did he have any big glasses and bulging eyes or anything?
He was. No. He was one of these guys who won everything at school.
Uh-huh.
So he was the best footballer.
Right. So he had a better-looking girlfriend than you as well, probably.
No, I had the better-looking girlfriend.
Did you?
Yeah, my girlfriend's name was Trudy. She was Miss
Trudy?
Chester at the time. Yeah, she was very good-looking.
Miss
yeah.
Chester?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we should be able to find her. What year was she Miss Chester?
What year would it be? 19...
Had she been Miss Chester when you were going out with her then?
No, she won it after I went out with her. She was. I think it was 1977 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was I going to say here? So
you were still at school then, teenagers?
No. What, when I met her I was?
No,
yeah.
when you went to Cornwall.
Oh, no, we're about 22, 23.
Oh, right,
like
okay.
That, yeah. So anyway, so what happens is...
so how did you get down there?
Well, this is the point. You see, because how old were we? 20? No, we were about 20.
Right.
About 20,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So I had my first Vauxhall Viva, but I didn't think it would make it to Cornwall.
It doesn't sound like it would have done.
So his mother, because he came from a charmed family of doctors, had a...
Doctors?
Yeah, had a really souped-up Ford Escort.
So you looked up to him. So you'd already abandoned the lowly fireman's family.
Oh, well,
And so you were hanging out with a guy whose parents were
But
doctors.
anyway, look, to get the story out, so he had this girlfriend with a very strange name. Her name was Binny, for some unknown reason. Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds a bit Trustafarian, that, doesn't it?
Well, I think it was...
Hello, Binny.
I think it was a
Super.
short... Well, she went to the Queen's School, Chester.
Oh, nice.
She went to the Queen's School, Chester.
Right.
We both went to the King's School, and everybody shunned my girlfriend, Judy, because she went to the Secretarial College.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have liked that, would you?
Well, I liked it, because
Did they
she
think
was
she was
great.
a bit of a plank?
Well, I thought she was a bit of a peasant, really,
Yeah.
compared to...
So was there Rogerisation involved in this trip?
Oh yeah, lots of Rogerisation. Yeah, obviously, Young Pete.
Was it two rooms, or did you share one?
No, we had a cottage. We had a
Bunk
cottage
beds?
cottage in St Ives, mate.
Cottage?
But in the throes of youthful passion and all that kind of
What
stuff.
a horrible scene that must have been.
I mean, there was plenty of it going on the beach late at night as well.
Really?
Let me tell you. Oh yes, absolutely.
We'll have to get some more details about
Hey,
this trip. How come
definitely.
you've never told me about this trip to St
Well, I
Ives
can't
before?
tell you about a whole of my
Extraordinary.
life, can I?
I've known you 40 years. You never told me anything about
The
it.
point of the story was, I said we went to Penzance because we thought we'd see some pirates, and then it was a dump, absolute pit.
Went to Penzance to see if there were any pirates there.
Yeah.
What a plank. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, a little bit later on this morning, about 6 hours from now. A couple of tweets to read out to you, Mr. Parry.
Okay.
One from Matt, who says, actually, I've probably got it slightly wrong. He says, so Mike Graham has known Mike Parry for 40 years. He would have served less of a sentence for murder, which is true. It's not quite 40 years, is it? It's probably more like 30, actually.
Yeah,
It's more like 30, I think.
I think it's between 30 and 40.
Something
Definitely.
like that.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of people have remarked on your attempts at Cornish earlier on.
Oh, yes.
And one here from Captain Beefheart in Liverpool says, Porky's idea of Cornish is to ask for 10 pasties to put in his PVC bag.
Yeah, why not?
And then here's one
I like
from
Cornish pasty.
from Ron, who's a Liverpool fan. He says, Mr. Parry's just declared war on the Klingons. I think he was referring to the way that you were speaking Cornish.
On the Klingons, I don't think so.
And here's another one from someone who says, I'm a manager at an express supermarket, and yes, we tagged our baskets yesterday as low-lifes were starting to nick them rather than pay 5p for a bag.
Well, thank you.
True story.
Is that not the definitive
I
evidence?
still find it very hard to
Well,
believe.
I'm sorry, but you're now calling our listeners people who are misleading you. I told you it's going to happen. You said don't be ridiculous and dismissed it. It is actually happening. That's because I'm ahead of the people, and I'm smart. I'm ahead of most people.
Head of the people.
And ahead of most people, and smarter than the average bear.
Here's one from Geordie Jeff. Does Porky not realise that Northumberland has its own flag of red and gold, so you better get used to seeing it flying from the hotels and castles if he wants to retire here?
Well, Northumberland's a fine part of the world, but it does border another country called Scotland, and therefore you can imagine that the sort of cultural enthusiasm has spilled over into England. I've got nothing wrong with that, but Cornwall's not connected to anything except the sea.
Well, it's not. Of course it's connected to something.
Well, Devon.
Well, it's connected to Devon,
Yeah, well, Devon's the same as Cornwall, basically.
Well, no,
so
it's not. It's completely
connected to a county which thinks very much the same as Cornwall.
I don't think that's true at all. Here's one, let's see, from Mike, who says, Cornwall is not near Somerset. Tourism is 12 months a year. Cornwall is not full of murderers, wreckers or smugglers. And then he calls you a nasty name, which I don't want to repeat.
It used to
Now, let's
be.
hear a bit more about this trip, though, because, I mean, you and these other three people in a Vauxhall Viva.
No, in a Ford Escort belonging to Terry's mother.
Oh,
yeah.
Terry's mum, okay.
Yeah.
So, still, quite a small car, though.
Well, quite
so
small.
You must have
but
been in it for about 12 hours all the way down there.
Well, that's
Did you
true.
do it in one hit, or did you stop off somewhere?
No, we did it in one hit.
Right.
From Chester, you go down the M6, then down the M5 to Exeter, and then down the road to Cornwall.
Yeah, but that's the slow bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a hell of a long way. But no, what?
So you stayed in a cottage?
Yeah, we rented a cottage
for a
at
week.
St Ives. Yeah, it was great.
That must have been chaos.
No, it wasn't.
Did you cook and everything?
What?
Did you cook and stuff?
No, I think we went out for lunch every day.
Well, what
probably.
about dinner?
Dinner? Oh, I don't know.
Well, why are you looking at me like dinner is such an alien concept?
Well,
you must have had dinner at some point.
No, nobody had dinner in those days.
What do you mean nobody had dinner?
Well, what you did is you went to the pub and had some fish and chips or something like that, I suppose, at about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. No, actually, I don't suppose the pubs were open in the afternoon in those days because they had very rigorous...
they used to shut at 3.
Yeah, very
and
rigorous...
not open again until about 6, right?
That's right, yeah. But this guy, Terry, was interesting because he was the best footballer in school and he was also... decided he didn't want to do that.
So this is why you were his mate, because he was popular, successful, and had a rich family.
Well, so was I.
Well, no, you weren't popular or successful.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
And you didn't have a rich family by your own admission.
No, I didn't have a rich family, but I mean...
but you lumped onto this guy because he was wealthy.
I think we were like two peas in a pod, so to speak, you know.
Right.
But anyway...
You still in touch with him?
No. No. I haven't been in touch with him for about 40 years, I would imagine.
Then?
Well, I don't know, really. He went in one direction, I went in another. The other thing is, he was an extremely good golfer.
Was he?
And by the age of 16, he was a scratch golfer.
Oh, right, OK.
So when he wasn't at school, he played golf.
Did he bring the clubs to Cornwall?
No, he didn't, no. But he used to spend his summer holidays, like most of us would go and get a job. I would. I had a job once in a plastics factory, making the lids for plastic...
Plastics factory?
Yeah, plastic sandwich boxes.
Another new story you never told us.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
For what? For plastic lids for what?
For plastic sandwich boxes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
OK. Why didn't you make the boxes?
Hey?
You just made the lids?
Just made the lids.
Well, did they make boxes as well?
I don't know where the boxes came from.
This is a lid factory.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I don't know where the boxes came from or where they were made.
Right.
I only made the lids.
Right.
And
all the same size.
All the same size.
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you make a plastic box lid? Then?
Well, what you do is you have a like a machine in front of you, which is called a press.
Okay.
And this thing goes bajoomph like that.
Yeah.
And that's an injection of plastic which is shaping the lid.
Right. Okay. And then it's moulded.
It's moulded.
Right. And is it sort of liquid plastic or not really?
Yeah, but it's liquid plastic when it goes into the mould.
Is that toxic then?
Well,
you might be breathing toxic fumes.
Maybe, but it goes
that would explain a lot.
Zoomph like that.
Yeah.
And then it comes back. And when it comes back, you've got like 10 seconds to open the grill, put your hand in, and take the lid out.
Oh, okay.
And then you have to shut the grill.
Right.
But you do that for the whole of a shift.
Like every 20 seconds or something?
You do it every 20 seconds for 8 hours.
Blimey.
Now, the point is...
Sounds a bit tedious.
Point is, right, that it was intensely boring work, but it was 24 hours a day. There was a huge demand for plastic sandwich boxes in those days. People used to go out on picnics and take them and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there still is a big business.
Yeah, I suppose there is, yeah.
You go into any Poundland and they've got millions of them.
Yeah, they have. You're absolutely right, yeah. So anyway, what happened was I devised, they were all, I mean, believe me, the regular workforce there were the thickest group of people. No, they were. In
Chester?
Yeah, they were. They were the thickest group of people in Chester because it was completely, untrained work.
Unskilled.
Unskilled.
Yeah.
It was the ultimate unskilled job.
Right.
All you had to do was...
Were they mostly English people then, or were they
foreign? They were. I mean, in those days, there was no sort of immigrant population. It was. They were all local Cestrians, you know what I mean?
Right.
But they were dumb. Because they only needed the intelligence to open this grill, put their hand in, pull it out again. Yeah. And even then, some of them got that wrong and got their hand stuck in the...
would they get injured then?
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
And also, the other thing is, if the lid wouldn't come out properly, the only thing you could use on the machine without damaging the mould was a brass key, which you were supplied with. But they used to lose them and use a screwdriver, and that would scar the mould and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, because I was smarter than the average bear, I worked out a way to speed my machine up. So what used to happen was...
So you basically gerrymandered your own machine?
I did. And on an 8-hour...
Did you get a bonus for how many lids you did then?
No, because you only had to do a certain number.
Oh, right, OK.
So what happened was, I sped my machine up so that my quota of plastic lids was completed in 6 hours and not 8.
Right.
And then I would sleep for 2 hours and then wake up and then go home. And, of course, I then became very popular within the factory because everybody else wanted now to speed their lids up.
Yeah, right.
OK?
Yeah.
So I then became very,
So you became the person everyone wanted to know.
Absolutely right. And we all speeded up I speeded up all the machines, and then everybody had a 2-hour break at the end of the shift.
Right.
And that revolutionised the whole production process. Because eventually I went to the boss and told him about this.
Yeah.
And then he realised that...
Did you reveal to him that everybody else in the factory was a complete thicko?
Well, not really. He knew that already. He knew it, honestly. And they could barely find their way to work, these people, you know what I mean? When they,
Or as that person said about Barry and Furness a few weeks ago, they still point to the planes.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah, but...
It is.
So, anyway, look, what I'm saying is, the reason I'm telling you this story is because that's how I earn my money in the summer.
But you were telling me that this guy, your mate...
Yes.
Whose name I've forgotten. What was his name?
Terry.
Terry. He didn't have to work in the summer.
No, because his parents were wealthy. He came from a family of doctors, but I mean, when I say a family of doctors, I mean like surgeons, consultants, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And a big house on the English-Wales border.
Right.
And he spent all his summer playing in junior golf tournaments.
Right.
And won quite a lot of them.
Did he?
Yes.
Did you ever go on to turn pro, really?
Well, I wondered whether he might, and I kept my eye on things to see if he did, because he was very good. He was scratch at 16, as I say. And one time he brought a few golf clubs to school, towards the end of the summer term when the exams had finished. We were whacking balls around in the grounds of the school and all that kind of stuff. And it was my first introduction to golf. But anyway, the point is, he was good at everything he did.
Right.
And
unlike you.
No, I was pretty good at most things I did. And we went on this holiday to Cornwall, and then we came back again, and then we sort of, kind of lost touch. But he then emerged. I
want to hear more stories about what happened when you were down there, though.
Why?
Well, because it must have been
he just did the things that holiday people do.
Well, yeah, but what, though? How did you organise the Rogerisation, for example?
Well, I've got some pictures, actually.
Have you?
I've got some pictures.
You must bring them in.
Well, I'll bring them in.
Because you've mentioned Trudy before.
Yes, OK. My holiday in Cornwall, you mean? You want to see them?
I think we should put them up on the Facebook page.
Do you want to do that?
I think we should.
So I'll bring them in tomorrow?
Yeah, why not?
So this would be the Porky holiday in Cornwall, circa whatever it was.
Yeah.
And
we're all going on a summer holiday.
We're all going on a summer holiday. And do you think it would be fair to put a picture of Judy up on the Facebook page?
I don't think she would object.
You sure?
Yeah, well, maybe not. Maybe you find her. Maybe she'd find you.
Well, I mean, she's...
Where is she now?
Well, I've no idea. And her life will have been, hopefully, long, bountiful and very happy.
Well, let's hope she looks similar to what she did before.
Oh, she would. She had a terrific figure. And I last time I saw her was in about 1990.
Ah, it's quite recently then.
Well,
relatively speaking.
That's 25 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
why did you see her then?
Because, funny enough, I was going back to America for the second time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was up in Chester.
All right.
And I tell you what I was doing.
Did you go up there to tell everyone that you were being sent to be the head man at the Express?
No, I didn't. What it was that as I was going to America, and how long I was going to be away, as the family comes from Chester, my mother had been a widow for quite a few years by then, and would obviously be a widow. I went to see the family solicitor in Chester to sort out the family affairs, because I used to have to go and see this guy every 6 months, to sort out investments and all sorts of things.
You make it sound like Dallas.
Well, it wasn't quite like Dallas, but it was that sort of thing. And
I don't have a family solicitor.
No, OK. So I went up there to sort that out. And funny enough, whilst I was there, I met a mutual friend who said, "Oh, by the way, did you know Trudy's back?" Because she'd gone and, funny enough, believe it or not, when I was living first time in Surrey, and I lived then in a place near Wimbledon, she was living in Kingston upon Thames.
How bizarre!
She's about 8 miles away.
Married, presumably.
Yes, funnily enough, to a golf professional.
Really?
Yeah, who ran a.
So if you played your cards right and got decent at golf,
if you go down the A3 and just go over that bridge near Kingston on Thames, a golf driving range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he ran that.
All right.
Yeah. So you see, interesting, eh?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot more to be got out of this story, but we'll talk about something else coming up.
Absolutely.
We're going to drain you dry.
Absolutely.
Look at the light for a moment. This is Talk Sport. Porky Vision coming up soon. We are the Two Mikes.
Captain Birdseye wants his dinner.
Pop it.
Are we having fish fingers?
Naturally. New battered fish fingers.
Battered fish fingers?
Just for a change, fish fingers in a smashing crunchy batter. Here, get off. Those are for the captain.
Captain Birdseye! Captain Birdseye!
Try new Birdseye battered fish fingers. For a change.
Captain Birdseye!
I remember that advert. I'm sorry
now,
to say.
Do you know why we played that?
No.
This is my tribute.
What is?
Do you know? It's my tribute.
It was the 60th anniversary the other day, wasn't it, of Fish Fingers?
It was the 60th. No, this is the 60th anniversary year of Fish Fingers.
Right.
But on this day in 1956, Clarence Birdseye, and that was his real name, died.
Who was he?
He was the guy who invented the fish finger.
Obviously he was the guy that invented the fish finger.
And
but
invented
who was
Birdseye.
Well, tell us something about it.
He was an American industrialist, wasn't he?
Was
who came up
I don't know
with freezing food, you idiot.
He might have been a bloody pirate, for all I know.
He came up with the idea of freezing food when he was a fur trader. He's a fascinating man.
Right.
Fascinating story. He was a fur trader in the Arctic, right?
Yeah.
And he discovered something that nobody in the Western world had ever discovered before, that when the Eskimos went fishing through the ice, they got the fish out, but then they immediately chucked them back into an igloo, and they froze.
Or just into an ice box or something, perhaps.
Well, just into the igloo, and they froze. And,
how do you know he lived in an igloo?
Eh?
How do you know he lived in an igloo?
He didn't live in an igloo.
Right.
The what's the name? Is the Eskimos?
Oh, right, okay.
What are they called these days?
I don't think you call them Eskimos,
No.
do you?
What are they called?
Inuits, is it? Well, Inuit is the language that they speak, I think.
Inuit or something like that, yeah. But anyway, the point is, he suddenly found this out, brought it back into the civilised world.
I guess you would discover that, wouldn't you?
I'm not saying that Eskimos were uncivilised. Obviously, they're not uncivilised, but they did have to live in the same sort of place as polar bears, so you had to shoot a few of them, otherwise they'd rip your arms off.
Did you see that story the other day about the guy who managed to escape from, not a polar bear, but supposedly a grizzly bear?
He's supposed to have thrust his fist down the bear's throat.
He thrust his fist. My dad always said that's what you do with a dog. if a dog comes at you and you wrap your jacket around your arm and you shove your fist down the dog's throat.
The dog's not that big, though, is it?
Well, it depends on the size of the dog, obviously.
I suppose so,
If it's a big dog, you know.
Well, if it's a small dog, you kick it to death, don't you? Because obviously... well, you would, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't want to be cruel.
Yeah,
but
there speaks the animal lover.
No.
The great saviour of the natural world.
No.
You kick it to death.
Well, I mean, that's the most effective way of not getting your legs torn to pieces, isn't it? If it's a nasty little brute of a dog.
Not if it's actually on your leg.
Well, I'd use the other foot to kick it to death.
Yeah, I suppose. It's quite hard to do, though.
I mean...
a dog's, got your leg.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to kick it with the other leg.
Look, you'd never find me kicking a Labrador or a little spaniel or something like that. But I'm talking about one of these bullet-headed, ugly, nasty, vicious...
Like you're talking about pit bull or something.
Yeah, so I'd willingly kick a pit bull to death.
The pit bull's hanging on your leg.
Yeah.
I think you've got quite a few
Or
problems.
I'd reach for the nearest, sort of hard, heavy weapon and smash its head in, definitely. Well, you would, wouldn't you? Because
I suppose so.
Yeah, the nasty creatures. Anyway, what I was going to say is...
Yeah, so you were talking about the Eskimos or the Inuits.
Well, I was talking about Clarence Birdseye,
Yeah, right.
an amazing man who invented the fish finger, invented frozen food, right? Created one of the iconic brand names of all time, and because of him, we ran out of the cod that goes in fish fingers because of the demand.
Right.
So even to this day now, most fish fingers are made of Alaskan pollock.
Right.
I like pollock.
Pollock's not a bad fish.
Oh, pollock's a lovely fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how many packets of fish fingers were sold in the UK alone last year?
I don't know, 10 million?
41 million.
Really?
100,000. 41 million.
Yeah.
100,000 and 516.
That's
packets.
one for 2/3 of the whole nation, then.
It is, yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
But so did this guy sell his frozen?
Well, funny you should say
finger
that.
idea to Birdseye or something?
No, he was called Clarence Birdseye.
Yeah, but did he sell the idea to a company? Is what I'm saying.
He set up a company called Birdseye.
All right, well, you didn't explain that.
Well, didn't you
make? Was he telling me how you're going to beat a pit bull to death?
Didn't you put that together in your head, you idiot?
No.
If a man called Clarence Birdseye suddenly discovers frozen fish, and then a company emerges called Birdseye, don't you think there might be a connection between Clarence Birdseye?
Might be.
Clarence Birdseye, the guy who went round shooting elk in the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, maybe.
And
well, he didn't sell frozen elk fingers, did he?
No, of course he didn't.
So it's not obvious necessarily. I mean, he might have started a company, a very small company, which was then bought over by another company, but they just used his name on the brand. I don't know.
No, he started.
I mean, he didn't have frozen peas for sale at that time, did he?
Are you trying to tell me that because he worked in the Arctic Circle with all the Eskimos, that Birdseye was a popular name amongst the Eskimos or something?
I'm not suggesting that.
Fred Birdseye, Jimmy Birdseye, hey?
I don't know.
Norman Birdseye.
I was just asking you for an explanation.
It was Clarence Birdseye, that was his name.
Well, when did he start the Birdseye company then? You don't know, do you?
Yes, I do.
Well, tell us. That's the information we need. I don't need to know how you're going to beat a pit bull to death with, a banister.
He started it in 1916.
Okay. All right. And who owns it now then? Birdseye.
Well, the shareholders.
No, but is it not owned by part of one of those big conglomerates like Kraft or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But
Right.
it became...
So he became a very wealthy man anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But if he was the first seller of frozen fish fingers in 1916, how come it's their 60th anniversary then? You can't answer that one, can you?
Well, no. Well, hang on. It's their 60th anniversary today. That means they were discovered in... hang on. Well, in 56. In 56.
5, surely.
Right.
55.
Yeah, but you see, he died in 56. That's the strangest thing.
So, you haven't really researched this at all well.
No, I have. That means he only had the fish finger idea for 1 year before he... before he died.
So he wasn't such a genius after
all.
all.
He was. Big genius.
Died in penury.
Anyway, look, I got
so
some...
what was he selling until 1955 then?
Well, he wasn't. He was a fur trader in the Arctic.
Yeah, so I don't know how he's... I just don't see the connection.
Well, look, the connection is obvious. If you buy a packet of Birdseye fish fingers, you've got Clarence Birdseye, the Arctic hunter, to thank for it.
Captain Birdseye's on the cover, right?
Yeah,
He's on the packet.
Yeah.
But what did he do from 1916 to 1955? That's all I'm asking you.
Well, I think he was shooting, like, polar bears or something. But anyway, look, he knew what he was doing. He got it all right in the end.
Yeah.
What I was going to say to you was... oh, hang on a sec.
Yeah.
I've just discovered something.
Huh?
Oh, Clarence Birdseye didn't invent the fish finger. It was invented by a bloke in Tamworth, in where's that? In Warwickshire, in 1900. Hey? But he found a way of freezing it. That's the answer. That's the answer.
He basically came up with the idea of freezing fish fingers.
That's the answer.
But if somebody had invented fish fingers in the late 19th century, why are we only celebrating the 60th anniversary? That's the bit I don't get.
Well, it's because...
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
It's because... I'll tell you what we're celebrating. It's the 60th anniversary of the bird's eye fish finger, but in fact, there were other fish fingers around since in Tamworth, in England. I don't know what you're laughing at. Since 1900. OK? What's your problem?
That's the most ludicrous piece of information
no, it's not.
that you've handed out ever.
No, it's not.
It's not even
People
right.
are fascinated by fish fingers. Everybody eats them. Don't you eat them?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you cook them for your children?
We don't really cook them, do you? You just sort of put them in the oven and heat them up.
Oh, well, you can do that, or you can shallow fry them to make them crispy.
No, bad idea.
Why?
Because that's not good for you.
Right,
it makes them more fatty.
No, do you know...
Much better to put them in the oven.
Do you know, by the way, I've now thrown away all my sunflower oil and all that rubbish.
Good.
And
how much of it did you have?
I had about 4 bottles of it.
Why?
I don't know, because one bottle lasts me 7 years, funnily enough.
Just in case there's a war.
Well, no. I remember looking at the date on the bottle I was using down in Gosport,
right.
And I thought it was I bought it in 2008.
You had 4 of them?
You had 4 of them, yeah. And I realised that, I'd overstocked.
Yeah.
So, But anyway, it's because I read in one of my health magazines that actually you're better off going back to lard. You know, lard wrapped in paper.
Fish fingers in lard, though.
Yeah, you do.
No.
Yeah, you can.
No, put them in the oven.
No.
Seriously. You can crisp them up in the oven as well.
You can shallow cook them.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I'm not going to tell you about all these foods in future if you can't take it seriously.
Well, a few facts would be good. Anyway, coming up next, it's time for some more facts. It's Porky Vision time.
It is.
Here on TalkSport.
Yeah.
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
TalkSport.
TalkSport, we are the two mics, of course. It is that time of the week for Porky Vision, the best TV review anywhere, really. This is where Mr. Parry tells us all about the shows he's been watching, some of the Rogerisation he's witnessed, some of the things you might wish to miss out on as well. What have you got for us this week, Mr. Parry?
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you about Downton Abbey in a minute, OK?
Yeah.
Downton Abbey, the wedding and all that.
OK.
Ludicrous. The idea that, the old Earl and the whole of the, very wealthy family who live at Downton Abbey go to their sort of...
in a little church hall or school hall or whatever.
School hall. Yeah. They go to their butler's wedding.
The thing that I found astonishing was that in the school hall, they
yes.
had quite a spread going on there. I mean, presumably they'd nicked all the food from the main house.
It would be the leftovers, wouldn't it, from the main
they
house?
Had, massive game pies and...
I mean,
that was not
it's all
a cheap
ridiculous, because I've explored the history of the upstairs-downstairs thing, and they lived in terrible conditions downstairs. Yeah. They weren't treated like the people at Downton Abbey were. The butler wasn't accorded all that respect.
Right.
And far from offering them the ability to have the reception in the main house, which Lady Mary wanted all the time to keep her control over her butler, he wanted to go to the schoolhouse. But the Earl, what was his name? Earl who? Earl Grantham.
The Earl of Grantham.
Earl Grantham. He would never have gone to the wedding of his butler. It was in Victorian society.
The whole point of the show, though, is about how society is changing, and they're obviously having to do it in a microcosm, aren't they?
Yeah, that was all right. It was all right about the numbers of footmen and all that retreating. That was all true.
Yeah.
But what wasn't true is that. Any Earl like that would even deign to talk to his butler outside of the relationship they have professionally. It's an absolute nonsense and stuff and nonsense. And old, what was the butler's name again?
Carson.
Carson, I mean...
Why do I have to give you all the names?
All he was interested in was whether or not he was going to get down to the Rogerisation with Mrs. What's-her-name, who he married.
Hughes, I think
Mrs. Hughes, that's right, because...
He's got all the names right.
Yeah. But, I mean, he looks so old and knackered to me with bent legs and a shuffling gait.
Yes.
I don't think he's up to it anyway.
Yeah, it's not a particularly a sort of enthralling thought.
And I'll tell you something about Mrs. Hughes as well. She was
that's a bit ageist, though, that.
Yeah, it is a bit ageist, I agree. But Mrs. Hughes was made to look dowdy and old and, not very well dressed and all that. I've seen a picture of Mrs. Hughes, whoever the actress is who plays her, outside of Downton Abbey, and she's an extremely striking and glamorous woman.
Is she?
Oh.
Well, that's why it's called acting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's
you don't
right.
always have to act.
Yeah, but
like
listen,
the
I'll tell
person
you about that in a minute. The other thing I'll tell you about in a minute is Dr. Foster, right?
Yeah.
Because that was really dodgy, the last episode of that last night. Oh, you had to watch it through your fingers.
Did you?
Oh!
Well, has it suddenly become scary?
Well, it was just the way that, the mental jousting around the last sort of dinner party and everything was revealed and all this. And then there was a bit of violence that followed, when they got home.
Chickens have come home to roost,
Chickens have come home to roost because, he's a very weak man. Gemma Foster, the killer doctor, is played by Saran Jones.
Killer?
Brilliant. Yeah, well...
She didn't kill someone, did she?
No, in terms of, her killer instincts, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean? And her husband, weak guy, I can't remember his name now, Simon it was, yes.
Simon Foster.
Well, it would have been, I suppose, yeah.
Well, she's the doctor, isn't she?
Yeah, she's the doctor.
Yeah.
Weak man who was playing games with his business, lost all his money, but Rogerising...
But then had an affair with somebody across the road or something, right?
Not just across the road.
Yeah.
A family friend's daughter who was 21.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yes.
That is scandalous.
It's a generational thing.
Yeah.
So originally, Dr. Foster... thinks her husband is rogering...
Her best friend.
But
it turns out to be the daughter of the best friend.
Absolutely.
Blimey. That is shocking.
And Dr. Foster finds all the evidence in the mobile phone, which, incidentally... I told you how I helped the old man with his tyre last week.
Well, you didn't help him.
Well, I didn't help him, actually, no. But I helped...
You did nothing but not help him.
But I helped him locate his spare tyre, remember? I said,
you pulled it out of the boot for him?
No, I didn't pull it out of the boot.
I thought you did.
No, I pulled the cover out, but I couldn't get the tyre out. It was too much for my heart.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, the point of my story is, in the Dr. Foster thing, that's where Dr. Foster's husband, the Rogeriser, kept his secret phone with which he communicated...
What, in the spare tyre
In the spare tyre bay.
Oh, dear.
In which he communicated with his 21-year-old mistress girl.
Yeah, okay.
And by the way, her father is his best mate. So imagine
Whose
that.
father?
Her father...
What, Dr. Foster's father?
No, the 21-year-old father... Best mate of the man who's rogering her.
Oh, dear.
Now,
he does sound like a man with no moral compass.
So,
I mean, you've accused me of many things.
Right.
I've never done that.
Well, here, look at it this way.
Yeah.
And this is not easy for us to contemplate.
No.
Imagine if you found out I was having an affair with your daughter. Just imagine that.
Well, it was bad enough when I found out you'd been texting her and calling her babe.
Well, I did, but that was out of affection, She calls me her favourite uncle, so, I mean, that was just like that,
well,
you know what I mean?
She only does that to make you feel nice, though.
Well, what else am I supposed to call her? Oh, Emma,
Well, that's her name.
Emma. Yeah, listen, I'm outgoing, outreaching, babe, what's wrong with that?
You've now put such a horrible idea in my head that I'm not going to be able to carry on now.
No, don't worry, it will never happen. She's got a very big boyfriend anyway.
She has, yeah. I don't think he'd be happy about it. I think he'd be more worried about upsetting him than me, to be honest.
Yeah, I won't go there, honestly. Yeah. Anyway, the Dr. Foster thing, we'll get back to in a minute.
Yeah.
The show I really want to tell you about
go on.
is a classic episode of Columbo.
Columbo? I think we should do Baretta. I think we should find Baretta.
I'll find Baretta. But Columbo was
Somebody
brilliant.
told me, actually, earlier, they tweeted earlier, that the guy's name was Blake, the guy that played him. I've forgotten his first name.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Richard, what was something Blake?
I don't know. Anyway,
Robert Blake.
Robert Blake.
Yeah.
Now, I did a quiz on Columbo, and I did quite well, didn't I?
You actually did not bad on Columbo.
I did.
I mean, to be fair, you knew an awful lot about a lot of the episodes.
That's right.
Do you remember we got the guy on who was the writer of some of the episodes?
We did, indeed. He was brilliant. That's great. Yeah, well done. But anyway, the point of my story is, I had never seen this Columbo episode before, so I skyboxed it.
Right.
And then one day last weekend...
So there's one you haven't seen?
One I hadn't seen. And it was called something like The Lottery of Life or something like that.
Well, it's called Columbo, presumably.
Eh?
Presumably it's called Columbo.
Well, Columbo, yeah.
They're all
Lottery
called
of Life,
Columbo, aren't they?
But very quickly, because we're running out of time, the plot was that this sort of ne'er-do-good sort of wastrel, aged about 32, wins $30 million on the lottery.
Uh-huh.
His parents died when he was young in an automobile crash, as they call it in America.
There was a story the other day that somebody's unclaimed. There's an unclaimed Euro lottery ticket.
£56 million,
Quite a lot of money,
yeah. Anyway, so he goes to see his uncle and says, "Look, I've got a problem here. I've won $30 million, but I'm divorcing my wife and I don't want to give her any.
Right.
So would you pretend that you're the man who's won it? And then, I'll give you 10%.
Yeah.
So the uncle goes along with the plot a little bit, but then gets greedy and wants it all.
Right.
murders his nephew by drowning him in the bath.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and then takes the...
That sounds horrendous.
But it gets worse. It works out the uncle, the reason that the wastrel boy and his wife were divorcing was unbeknown to the wastrel boy. His uncle was rogering his wife. Right. So, yeah. So...
It's extraordinary.
But guess who solved the crime? This is the greatest thing about this episode.
Yeah.
It was solved by a chimpanzee.
What?
A chimpanzee.
Why? What sort of chimpanzee? A speaking chimp?
No, a pet chimpanzee.
Well, how did he solve the crime?
Well, this is what's brilliant about it, and I'm going to tell you.
Go on.
What happened was the chimpanzee was in the apartment of the boy who'd been killed and drowned in the bath.
Right.
And he was looking after the chimpanzee on behalf of a neighbour who'd gone on vacation.
Right.
But when he got round there, when Columbo got round there, the wastrel guy was a would-be photographer who'd gone bankrupt because he couldn't make his photography business work. Okay,
right.
So when Columbo looks through all the pictures in the apartment, he sees pictures of the chimpanzee, which had been staying for a couple of weeks. Okay,
yeah,
and the chimpanzee was very fond of touching ladies' earrings or brooches.
Or shiny things.
Shiny
like
things. Watches and all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
So eventually, just very quickly to get to it, the reason that Columbo nailed the killer uncle who'd gone round the flat and drowned in the sun is the killer uncle was wearing a thing round his neck, like the Bee Gees used to wear.
Well, a medallion.
A medallion.
Yeah.
And they found the monkey's fingerprint on the medallion.
Yeah.
And that nailed him.
What? So what did that prove?
Well, he said he'd never been to the apartment.
Oh, I see.
You see?
Yeah.
And then
how did they have the monkey's fingerprints in the first place? Had the monkey committed a crime before?
No. The monkey's fingerprint was on the medallion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but how did they match it up though?
Because the chimpanzee was still alive, so they took a fingerprint off the chimpanzee.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have been on the database, is what I'm saying.
Hey?
He wouldn't have been on the database.
No, but what they did is they got all the fingerprints off the medallion.
Yeah.
Right? Because Columbo said, I bet that chimpanzee touched the medallion.
Maybe it was a different monkey, though.
No, it wasn't, because then they got a fingerprint off the chimpanzee, and the two matched up. Chimpanzees' fingerprints are like human fingerprints. They're exactly the same.
Are they?
Yes, absolutely.
All of them?
Well, no. What I mean is they are a reliable indication of the identity of a chimpanzee.
Sounds like he was fitted up to me.
No, it had to be that chimpanzee. It was another brilliant detective work by Columbo.
Yeah, well,
absolutely
another brilliant Porky Vision.
Well, I think so. I don't worry too much about Downton and Dr. I've told you the best of it, Dr. Foster.
Finished now, isn't it?
Yeah, but I haven't seen all of it. I haven't seen the end. I didn't have time to see the end.
Okay.
So I'll tell you about the end of it next week.
Yeah, so make sure you watch it before...
watch it before
any devices.
I don't actually know what happened at the end, to be honest. I know it was a bit of aggro, but I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, okay.
I think somebody's face got pushed through a window. I don't know whose face it was.
Yeah, maybe there was a monkey involved.
No, there wasn't. That was in Colombo.
Okay, this is Talk Sport.
Here we come, walking down the street. We get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. Hey, we're the monkeys, and people say we're monkeying around. But we're too busy singing to put anybody down. We go where we want to, do what we like to do. We don't have time to get restless, there's always something new. Hey, we're the monkeys.
I never tire of hearing that, really, to be honest.
Really? I don't see the attraction, to be honest.
I mean, the idea that you could talk about not only an old episode of Columbo, but somehow rope in the chimpanzee, the amazing crime-solving chimpanzee and his fingerprints. Extraordinary.
I think the chimpanzee was central to the whole plot. That's what it was all about.
I'm sure. Now, funnily enough, we were talking earlier about Beretta, which is probably not as successful or long-running as Columbo, because I don't think you can watch it anymore.
No.
And one of the reasons why may be this, which I've discovered, I'd completely forgotten about this. Robert Blake was the guy who played Beretta, right? And it was a great show, actually, and he'd been a child actor and he'd done all kinds of things.
Okay.
But in 2005... he was tried and acquitted of the 2001 murder of his second wife, Bonnie Lee Backley, on November 18th, 2005, and he was found liable in a California civil court for her wrongful death.
Ooh.
So it's one of those amazing Hollywood stories. I mean, if you see his face, you probably remember him as Beretta.
Yeah, you showed me a picture. I thought he was much older than that when I saw him.
That was him when he was doing time in jail.
Right, okay, No, that's the face I remember,
Before the actual, and that face there, and he was slightly younger than that when he did the show.
Yeah, he was,
But, I mean, what extraordinary kind of turn of events, you know. It was one of those Hollywood stories. And there he is with his parrot.
Oh, this is Parrot.
You
Yeah.
don't remember Beretta?
Yeah, I do know, yeah. But funny enough, that could be the plot of a Columbo programme.
It could,
because, I mean, the number of famous people have been locked up because of Columbo's diligence as a cop.
Yeah.
You
mean in the show?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, San Quentin must be full of some of the world's greatest actors, lawyers, theatrical impresarios and everything else.
Yeah, or even impresarios.
Yeah, a great show.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about this young Everton footballer earlier, right?
Well, I mentioned him to you. I asked you if you knew him. There's a young guy who's about 17. He's just signed a 2-year contract, as far as I understand, with Everton.
That's right.
And somebody tweeted me earlier asking if you were going to possibly write a book about him because he might be a sort of a young Wayne Rooney-esque type player.
To be honest, I'm not into writing books anymore.
Aren't you?
It is incredibly hard work.
Well, when did you announce this? This is another great revelation that you've come out with.
Well, no, I haven't announced anything.
You told us a couple of weeks ago you were going to write another book.
Well, I thought I might, but then...
Some people think we should write a book together. I think we'd drive each other mad.
Yeah, we would. They are so time-consuming, writing books. And you don't get paid a lot for writing books these days.
Right.
I mean, I tell you what, if you write Stephen Gerrard or something like that, big seller, then fine, you're onto something good.
Yeah.
But almost anybody else, you're on a loser. You spend months and months and months writing, checking facts, rewriting chapters, re-editing things. It goes to the... And you know what?
Yeah.
For most books, Mike, that even get an airing on a show on TalkSport or something like that, I bet the author doesn't make more than 10 grand, honestly.
Yeah, but to some people that's a lot of money, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about...
It's all right very well for you to say I wouldn't get out of bed for that, But
No, I'm not saying that.
Some people would.
Well, I'm not saying that, but remember, that could take you 8 months, honest to God. You have to start writing a book round about summer, and you have to have the manuscript ready by the following April.
Yeah,
so that it
the
can
trick
be...
is to write it very quickly, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but if you've got to check so many facts in a footballer's life and all that kind of stuff, you can't because it goes back to your publishers in April. Then it's got to be edited. Yeah. It's got to be rewritten properly. It's got to come back to you. But by October, and there's always a date in October when all the books are published, it's got to be ready for publication so that the Christmas sales can kick in, right?
Yeah.
But it's an incredibly long process, and as I say, if you've got about 10 grand for it, and you'd be quite lucky to get that over the space of about 8 months, I mean, it's basically 250 quid a week.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's painstaking work.
Right.
But anyway, there you go.
John from Durham has texted into 81089. He says, Mike Parry, researcher extraordinaire.
Oh, yes, that's
me.
me.
So what more can you say than that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't find this guy's name now.
Right, I'm going to tell you.
Earlier,
I'm going to tell you.
Is it Lee, somebody?
No, this is a great story. Tom, it's the big time, right?
Yeah.
Everton starlet Tom Davis was given the wake-up call of his life when Roy Hodgson invited him to train with the senior team yesterday.
What does that mean, and why has he done it?
Well, I'll explain all. You know that the senior team have gathered at St George's. Well, at the same time, the England under-17 team are there, training for a tournament that they're going off to compete in. Okay. And
are you allowed to play for the under-17s if you're over 17? Do you know how they sometimes have that?
Yeah, I think 2 players can be over 17.
Right.
Yeah. So the Liverpool ball midfielder who turned 17 in June signed his first pre-contract only last month.
Right.
Yesterday, he teamed up with the 3 Lions regulars Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Raheem Sterling to fire shots past keeper Jack Butland.
Oh, yeah.
Davis was at St George's Park as part of...
hopefully he was saving some of them.
Yeah, well, I would imagine so, yeah. Davis is at George's Park as part of the squad preparing for this month's under-17...
Is he there, do you think, because some people have pulled out?
World Cup, eh?
Do you think he's there because he's making up the numbers because some people have pulled out?
Well, that and being given an opportunity
like
as a rising star. Yeah, well, I think you're right, yeah.
Who obviously doesn't feel playing for his country is important enough to, get down there.
Well, he does, but not on a dodgy knee, because that could ruin his career at the age of 21.
Yeah, really.
Right, so...
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm beginning to think it's a bit of an epidemic, because I'm reading here that Seamus Coleman has decided he's not going to play for the Republic of Ireland either.
Well, he's injured.
Oh, he's injured as well?
He's been injured for 6 weeks, you idiot.
Well,
he hasn't played for
unfortunate,
6 weeks.
So 2 of Everton's stars are not well to play for their country.
That's right.
Are you sure there's not a pattern involved?
No, there's no pattern involving. There's no pattern involving. Right, now, the only downside for Davis was that he had to sit out the under-17s win over the Congo in their final warm-up before flying to Chile today.
A win over who?
The Congo.
The Congo?
Yeah.
What, the under-17s?
Yeah.
They went to the Congo?
No, they played the Congo somewhere else.
Where?
Don't know. Here, I think, in England.
Really?
Before they go off to Chile today to compete in the under-17.
They're going to Chile?
They're going to Chile.
That's ridiculous.
Why?
Why are they going all the way to Chile?
Because that's where the under-17 World Cup's taking place.
Right, okay. I didn't know there was a World Cup going on.
Yeah, I've been to Chile.
We should cover that. Yeah.
Chile's a great country.
You told me, you've been to the Atacama Desert.
The Atacama Desert, fantastic.
Where you saw the spacemen.
I saw spacemen in the caves.
Spacemen.
Well, I saw pictures of spacemen written inside the caves. No, it's true. And the other thing is, I remember going across this fantastic sort of part of the desert where there was a bit of water as dawn was coming up one morning.
Yeah.
And there were...
Dawn who?
You idiot. And...
Was she a secretary?
And there were thousands of pink flamingos standing on one leg.
Oh, yeah. That's what they do.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, it was mind-blowing. It really was.
Some people see pink flamingos, you know that. Have you seen the film Pink Flamingos?
No.
Oh, never mind.
No, right. Anyway, listen, just to finish off here... I
want to talk to you about this guy biting the other guy in the South Africa game.
Yeah, OK, go on.
Because, I noticed today as I was on my way over... You never let me finish the story, by the way.
Which story?
The story about my brake light.
Oh, yeah, what happened?
Well, after that, I decided, I might want to take it somewhere else, right?
Yes.
So I took it to another place which is renowned for fixing up cars.
Where was this?
Well, I don't want to give their name.
Was it Quick Fit?
It was, yeah.
Quick Fit.
And so... I went in there, and normally the Quick Fit down the Old Kent Road is very, very busy, but it was actually quite quiet.
Right.
So I thought, I might have a chance here, because there don't seem to have too many people hanging around. So I went into the office, and, the guy was on the phone, and there was another guy doing not very much, and I was starting to get a bit irritable, because I was already irritable.
Well, you shouldn't be getting irritable with these people. They're artisans. They're trying to do their best. They're doing their job.
But I was irritable.
Don't you get all poncy with them.
It was pouring, I was upset, I was tired.
Respect the working man.
I do respect the working man. Anyway, this guy finally gets off the phone. He's going to help you. I said, I said, do you guys do, fit brake lights on cars? He said, oh, yeah, we do that. I said, great. I said, I've got a Land Rover out there. Do you think you could put a brake light in it for me? And he went, yeah, sure. And I said, the thing is, I've just been to Halfords, and they said that there's a problem with screwing out some of the screws. He said, I'm sure we'll be all right for that.
Yeah.
He said, what, Halfords told you they couldn't do it? I said, yeah. He was shocked. He said, I can't believe that.
I don't believe
He said,
him.
what, so, well, they haven't got any equipment that could remove it. What are you doing? I'm trying to tell you a story.
Yeah, I'm
You're
listening.
packing up all your stuff.
I'm not. I'm shuffling my...
don't shuffle the papers.
Shuffling my research papers,
It's taking a long time for me to tell you the story. Anyway, so he then says... he has a look and goes, he said, the thing is... I said, well, could you do it now? He said, well, yeah, we could. He said, the only thing is we haven't got any bulbs in stock.
Well, they can't change your bulb light unless they've got a bulb.
Yeah, well, I said, don't worry about that. And I produced the bulb.
Right.
I said, look, I've got a bulb right here.
Yeah.
Because I'd bought two from Halfords the last time I had it
Smarter than the average bear.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, we're in here. And he said, no. He said, we can't fit that bulb. And I said, why not? He said, we can only fit a bulb that you buy from us.
Supplied by us.
Yeah. And I said, why is that? And he just said, it's just company policy.
Well, I can understand that. I can understand that.
What do you mean, why?
Well, if everybody brought in their own bulbs and said to the Quick Fit fitter...
Well, it's not like I made the thing at home.
Hang on.
It's in the packet, right?
Can you stick this in a car for me? Where would they get their profit from? How much was they going to charge you for changing the bulb?
Well, I don't know. Probably more than Halfords. I mean, Quick Fit would probably charge me more per hour, for example.
Probably 25 quid, I would think.
Maybe.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I had a very frustrating day. And then he said, would you like me to order you a bulb?
Yeah.
And I went, no, I've got one.
Yeah.
Why would you need to order me a bulb
when
I've got a bulb?
Hang on. It seems to me that in your wrath and your indignity today, you've ended up not getting your bulb changed at all.
Because
is that right?
nobody could change it.
So where are you going to resolve this problem then, you dolt?
I'm going to have to take it now back to my garage in Sussex and say to them, look, would you mind awfully putting this bulb in for me?
Why didn't you do that in the first place?
Because I thought since I was going to be in London with the car, it would make more sense for me just to take half an hour out of my day, which is what it normally does, to go and get it done at Halfords.
I don't know. Honest to God. I mean, it's any wonder your life's in chaos. You can't even organise how to change a bulb in your car. Of course it's in chaos.
Well, anyway, you're going to fix it now, aren't you, with your toolkit?
What?
Porky Parry's toolkit. Go downstairs before you go home.
I haven't got my toolkit with me.
You told me it was in the car.
Well, there is one in the car, but I've got another one at home which is better. I'll bring it in tomorrow.
Well, bring it in tomorrow and do it tomorrow then.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can do it for you.
You would be
well, I mean, look, I'm on a bit of
you can put a light bulb in your own house.
What's the name of our friend, the chap on the front desk here?
You can't even remember Brian's name.
Of course I can remember Brian's name.
Unbelievable. But that's how much respect you've got for the working man.
But hang on, Brian...
How long have you known him?
Oh, only a couple of years.
Couple of years.
Brian is an expert in mechanical things because... He is.
Seen the time, by the way.
He's a biker. He still rides around on his bike.
Well, I'm going to ask him
in fact, sometimes drives onto the continent on his bike.
The continent? Well, there's continentals.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And I bet you he could change that bulb for you in 5 minutes.
You're going to get him to do it, aren't you? Pretend you did.
No.
Shocking.
He's that sort of guy, Ryan. He wants to help anybody.
Yeah, I know.
He's like one of those people in that Halifax advert. You know what I mean? He goes a bit further, give him more, and all that. You know what I mean? You've seen that advert,
No, I haven't seen that.
It's called the Halifax, isn't it? We go one step further or something.
No, don't think so.
Extra, that's it. Because of the X in Halifax, they make it extra, don't they?
Look into the light. I wish you'd go one step further. Yeah. Out the door. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
your envy and your jealousy and your sheer malice towards me is evidence of only one thing. You resent my lifestyle. You resent my achievements in life.
You're absolutely right. I wish I was you.
We went to Penzance because we thought we'd see some pirates, and then it was a dump. Absolute pit.
Went to Penzance to see if there are any pirates there.
Yeah.
What a plague.
A lot of Cornish people are murderers. They are. I don't know what you're laughing at. It's true. Anna Yilta Ohavenda Hesha. Can't you understand me?
No.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Friday was army. Go on, you chimp.
Hello, can you speak Cornish?